Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This will be the St. Cloud Commissioners Planning Meeting for 2024, sorry. And please forgive me, I just had eye surgery on my left eye and I'm not doing well. So I am going to turn the meeting to my co-chair, who's going to be...
Ms. Carney is the acting chair, and after the pledge, she indicated to me that she's going to remove herself from the chair position tonight. So the commission will take up a brief motion to entertain the assignment of a chair for tonight's meeting. But first, the pledge, Madam Chair.
Correct.
Okay, stand.
Please stand for the pledge.
Please stand and let's pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Madam Chair, first roll will be called by our clerk, and then we can proceed with the administrative motion.
Good night. Chair Camilo Oquendo, he is excused today. Vice Chair Maria Teresa Carney.
Indicate here.
Here.
Yep, thank you.
Philip Lantry.
Present.
Jeff Rivera. Unexcused. Dawn Grisby.
Present.
Nanette Douglas.
Here.
Russell Alexander.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you. We do have a quorum. Now, Ms. Carney, you indicated to me that you are withdrawing as chair for this evening. So you should call for a motion for tonight for the commission to nominate an acting chair for tonight's commission meeting. So call for that motion.
I'm calling the motion to have somebody replace
Nomination.
me.
There we go.
I would like to make a motion that Phil Lantry serve as chair for this meeting.
I second it.
Okay. And all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. Mr. Lantry, you are the acting chair, sir.
Thank
Take
you.
the gavel, and it's your meeting.
Okay, so the first order of business is approval of the minutes from the Planning Commission meeting held on December 19th, 2023.
So
Yes.
moved.
Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes, and are there any questions or comments?
No, I would like to make a motion to accept the minutes.
So I do have a question about, there was 2 items on the minutes that were cases that we voted on, that are cases that are coming forth before us this evening, I believe. Is that correct? They were pulled. Or did that change?
What were they?
Oh, yeah, ordinance 2024-01 and ordinance 2024-02. And so I guess what my question is do we,
Are you saying they were removed at that commission meeting? They were on the agenda, but then they were pulled? Is that what you're saying?
no, we actually voted on them.
You acted on them, all right.
But they're-
Well, the issue becomes whether the minutes as presented are an accurate depiction of the meeting. Ms. Grigsby moved to approve the minutes as presented.
Understood, so we can move forward with
So
that.
you can, yes, you
Do I have a
can.
second?
I second it.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I apologize, we have all 5 are here, 5-member commission this evening, and everyone is an acting full voting member this evening. Thank you for my,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, so we've approved the minutes from the previous meeting.
From December 19th, yes, sir, thank you.
Okay, so, new business. The first case is resolution number 2024-006R, and this is DRC case CNU 22-00012.
Good evening, Commissioners. It's Stephanie Streeter, Associate Planner for Community Development. Tonight I'm presenting you CNU 22-00012 Iglesia de Dios El Faro Conditional Use, located at 1418 10th Street. The applicant is requesting approval of Resolution 2024-006R. For background, it is located in the Central Business District 1, CBD 1 zoning district. It does have a future land use designation of commercial. They are requesting an expansion of their existing church and staging for their food pantry. So the existing church is at the property that abuts them to the north. And because they are in the Central Business District, that does require a conditional use for places of worship. And there are no adverse impacts on city facilities. So this is their current zoning and future land use map that show the surrounding properties. Staff is recommending approval of Resolution 2024-006R with the following conditions. 1, changes to the site will require approval of a site development plan and any additional approvals required by the Land Development Code. And 2, garbage and/or pallets shall not be kept at the front of the building except on designated pickup dates provided by Solid Waste. And again, staff is recommending approval of Resolution 2024-006R with the conditions stated by staff. And staff and the applicant are available for any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would the applicant like to come forward and speak on behalf? Please state your name and address for the record.
Hello, and my name is Alex Mendieta. 4023 Pemberley Pines Circle, St. Cloud, Florida.
Thank you.
My name is Esteban Mendieta. I will be translating for him because he has a difficult time with English, and I live at the same address.
Okay, thank you.
Be sure to speak into the microphone clearly for everyone here in the audience. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Do I repeat myself?
Okay.
¿Quiere que hable en tu parte sobre
Ok.
por qué?
Nosotros como iglesia hemos abierto este lugar para poder servir a la comunidad y ayudar en este tiempo tan complicado que la gente está teniendo.
So, as a church, we open this place to help our community, and especially in times that are difficult, in these recent times that have been very difficult.
Y la propiedad que tenemos al lado de la iglesia en sí nos reúne las condiciones para poderlo hacer.
And the property that we have next to our church will help to fulfill the conditions to help the community.
Y nuestro único deseo es ayudar y ser un aporte para la comunidad.
And the only desire we have is to help and to be of support for the community.
¿Qué más quisieran?
If you have any questions for him?
Yes, does the commission have any questions for the applicant at this time? Or for staff?
Ms. Carney, for the record and for the audience and the public, you'll have to ask in English, and the gentleman has a translator for you. Yes, of course, thank you. Thank you.
I would like to know how many people the church will be holding, the occupancy.
En nuestro templo se reúnen alrededor de 80 personas, el templo, pero el lugar donde repartimos la comida no son 60 personas, pero la comida la repartimos en los vehículos, no lo hacemos dentro de la iglesia. El lugar que tenemos es para preparar. Vamos a buscar la comida a Orlando, la traemos, la ponemos en caja y se la damos a la gente en sus carros.
So our main building currently can hold 80 people, and in the secondary building can hold 60, but we don't give food inside the buildings. We give it to them in their cars. They come around, and then we pack the food into their cars for them.
Thank you for a wonderful job. Be blessed.
I admire you and I thank you for the things that you do in our community. My biggest concern is traffic. There are a lot of food pantries in St. Cloud, and we have a wonderful programs of Seeds of Hope and different programs where people are coming together. We also have a food pantry for from the city's food distribution. So I'm just kind of wondering, why do you feel that there is this need? And on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sunday mornings might not be as busy, but if you just look at some of the other food pantries around and the lineup of cars, I'm just concerned about that. Could you please address it?
Entonces, está preguntando está
El
viendo
tráfico.
el tráfico porque hay otros lugares que también tienen el mismo problema.
Sí, no tenemos problema con el tráfico. El primer día sí lo tuvimos por la falta de experiencia, pero ahora está bien regulado, tenemos personas que nos ayudan y no estamos entorpeciendo en ninguna manera el fluir del tráfico ni a las casas que tengan que salir con sus vehículos.
On the first day, yes, we did have some traffic, and that was due to lack of experience. But throughout, we've learned we have people controlling the way the cars come in, the flow of them, and now it's not becoming as much of a nuisance, if not any at all.
So more specifically, where do you stage the cars for this? Because this is adjacent to, I believe it's adjacent to the Handyman Hardware building?
Yes. Está preguntando específicamente a dónde tener los carros.
La comida la repartimos en la iglesia 907 Kentucky Avenue. Ahí repartimos y toda la calle Kentucky para abajo hasta el lago es que apegados a la orilla, respetando las calles, se van parqueando los carros y tenemos personas que están vigilando constantemente que no haya entorpecimiento.
So in 907 Kentucky Avenue, the main building, that's where the cars actually come in because we have a parking lot there, and they go down through the edge of Kentucky Avenue, and we have people there to watch to see if it causes any disturbance to keep it in check,
En dirección al lago.
and in direction to the lake on Kentucky.
Pregunta si lo entendieron.
So they're not coming up on 10th Street?
No, they're not on
No.
10th Street.
So is there actually a driveway that connects from Kentucky to the property, or do they go around on, I guess it would be 9th Street to Massachusetts, like to go around?
No, they don't go around. There is a driveway that goes directly into
Okay.
the property.
Okay.
Está preguntando si daban la vuelta o si
No.
entraban directo.
Do we have any other questions from the commission?
No.
Okay. At this time, we're going to allow for public comment.
If someone wishes to make public comment on this case, please come to the podium, identify yourself and your name and your address, and then at the conclusion of your presentation, if you have not done so, please fill out a form to hand to our clerk so we have a record of your appearance in the case. Thank you.
Yes, I'm Julie Fox at 814 Massachusetts. I'm right around the corner. The traffic at first was hard, but now I don't mind it. People are very polite. They stay on the side of the road, and I have to go into an alley into my driveway, and they leave space. It's fine. The only thing I do not like is that there are so many pallets and boxes and trash after it's done. And I'm wondering if, could it be kept inside until the trash pickup day? Because otherwise you're going to get rats and vermin. And I've driven by and there's just all sorts of boxes and pallets. That's my only concern.
Thank you for providing that information.
Could y'all address that?
Bueno, las cajas siempre se juntan, pero al otro día ya las estamos sacando y todo lo que es basura la ponemos en los basureros para que después se la lleven. Pero siempre tratamos lo antes posible de tener bien limpio el lugar porque entendemos que eso va a molestar.
We are aware of the trash problem, and we do the best we can to get everything into the trash cans for it to be taken away. And if there's anything left over, we keep it with us until we can put it back into the trash cans.
Thank you.
Do you, sorry. Is
Hi.
there,
Stephanie Streeter, Associate Planner. Members of the commission, just so you know, that is why we also added the second condition, that they cannot store their garbage or pallets at the front of the building except on designated pickup dates provided by Solid Waste.
Mr. Alexander, did you have a question to ask?
yes, how are they removing the waste? Is there a dumpster on site, or are they just putting it in regular, like residential cans?
We use the residential ones because that's all that's been provided.
And then if it's just massive amount that doesn't fit in there, then it's just the regular charge to them like we all do if we have something we put out on the curb and they have to have a bigger pickup, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So is there not room for a dumpster, or why wouldn't you have a dumpster there?
Estaba preguntando por qué no
Does the
tenemos-
city have a service that can get you a dumpster, and that way they're designated, Stephanie, for it?
están
Put
preguntando-
all the trash in there?
Hi, Stephanie Streeter. If at the time they decide that they cannot meet these conditions without the dumpster, they would have to do a mini site development plan to get the dumpster and the enclosure. So that would be addressed at a later if they cannot satisfy those conditions without one.
So they can't have a dumpster without a whole site plan? And
They'd have to do a mini site development plan for the enclosure.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else that would wish to make a comment from the public? Okay, at this time, I will be closing the public comment session. Does anybody else from the commission have any other comments or questions?
My comment is if the neighbors do not have a problem with it and that they're being respectful to it, I don't see why we can say no if the neighbors say it's okay.
So conditional use applications is just a reminder to the commission members that the 6 factors of the Land Development Code need to be contemplated in your motion. Thank you.
Okay, with that being said, I'd like to call for a motion.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval of resolution number, where am I? 2024-006R, based on the 6 factual matters within the Land Development Code and pending the required conditions.
Conditions are part of the motion for approval, meaning the conditions, accepting the conditions.
Accepting the conditions.
A second.
All right, I have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Thank you.
Unopposed, 5-0.
Motion passes. Okay, second order of business, we have resolution number 2024-007R, and this is DRC case CNU 23-00005.
Good evening, Stephanie Streeter, Associate Planner. Tonight I'm presenting to you CNU 23-00005, Jesus is Lord Ministry Conditional Use, that is located generally south of Furtick Road, east of South Indiana Avenue, west of Michigan Avenue, and north of Nolte Road. The applicant is requesting approval of Resolution 2024-007R. For background, it is located within the single-family dwelling unit zoning designation RE. It does have a future land use designation of low-density residential. They are proposing a place of worship that will host 150 to 250 people for weekly services. And in the single-family dwelling unit, a single-family dwelling zoning designation, a conditional use is required for places of worship, and there are no adverse impacts on city facilities. This is the current zoning map and the future land use map showing the general area. This is their provided concept plan, and it was not included in your original packet, but you have been provided copies of their concept plan tonight. Staff is recommending approval of Resolution 2024-007R with the following conditions. 1, the approval of the requested conditional use does not constitute the approval of the provided concept plan as a site plan. Changes to the site will require approval of a site development plan and any additional approvals required by the Land Development Code. 2, this approval of the requested conditional use is specifically for the use identified as a place of worship to include Bible study, office space, and classrooms to accommodate workshops and preparation of community events. 3, at any such time the church intends to service as a food pantry or a school, another conditional use will be required. And 4, the main auditorium or sanctuary shall not have more than 250 seats. Again, staff is recommending approval of Resolution 2024-007R with the conditions stated by staff. And staff is available for any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does the commission have any questions for staff? Or, I'm sorry, is the applicant here, I should say? Would you like to come forward and provide any additional information? And please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. I'm Monique Harris. I am the senior pastor of Jesus Lord Ministries Incorporated, and I have
Chris Bravo. I'm the engineer of record with Bravo Engineering.
Thank you. Does the commission have any questions for the applicant?
Yeah, I'm kind of interested in understanding about, the proximity with the, existing residences in the area and flow for getting to your venue.
So when you say flow, I'm sorry, are you referring to traffic?
Traffic.
Yes. So the proposed sanctuary is set back in the property with a fairly long queue length before you get to the parking area. And based on, the number of expected vehicles on site, I certainly would not anticipate under any circumstances that, it would back up onto, I believe it's Michigan Road. So, again, the number of trips we're looking at is, there was a traffic impact analysis included with the submittal. And the times that the facility would be in use tend to not coincide with the peak times of the road. So, off-peak times, whether it's Sunday morning or Wednesday evening, is usually not when you'd expect the road to be at its highest service level to begin with.
I have a question. The
Yes, sir.
conceptual site plan that's on the screen, is this outdated? Is the one that we have in front of us, the printed copy, is this an update? Or-
We had submitted two alternatives. The one up on the screen is the preferred alternative. The other was a concept plan that we were kind of floating, and I think we presented them both to staff to see if they had any preference, with our preference being the one that's up on the screen.
I see. Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
They both have the same size building, I believe the same number of parking spaces. It really has to do with the topography and how we could best save trees and meet the minimum, design, or hopefully exceed the minimum design criteria for surface water management.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Any other questions?
And how many should be able to park in the lot?
I should know that. I didn't memorize the number.
62.
There we go. Yeah, I believe
62.
it's up near the top right corner of the page, which is probably too small of a font. I should have brought magnifying glasses.
So you think that's adequate parking, though, for, what'd you say, 250-seat auditorium?
Yes, ma'am. I believe we meet or exceed the, again, the minimum criteria based on the ratio of the number of seats per vehicle. But we're also hoping and assuming that the church will encourage parishioners to utilize alternate means, whether it's, walking, bicycling, carpool, or other means that would, So while we are meeting the minimum as far as if everybody chose to drive, we're hoping that not everyone will choose to drive themselves.
I do see on the hard copy that we were provided, it says 69 spaces
Okay.
for the total number.
To my understanding, they said that we needed one spot for 4 seats.
We'll cut you some slack, 69 to 62, pretty close.
Thank you.
And again, there's probably the opportunity to increase the number of spaces if staff thought it would be appropriate. But again, I know a lot of places are not encouraging excess parking with in mind to encourage people to use alternate means of transportation. So we're trying to find that right balance of, being good stewards, but also providing a place that is, comfortable for the worshipers.
Okay, if the commission has no further questions at this time, we will move into the public comment session.
We appreciate your consideration and are available if there are any additional questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I have a couple of submitted cards for comment. The first one here is Clyde Wells. Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Clyde Wells, 3324 Michigan Avenue. my wife's family has owned the property to the north of this, the subject property, and we've had, over the years, some issues with flooding. There was a pond on this property at one time, and it is still there, but it appears that it's been filled some. And essentially, it's goes through the middle of that property. And if you go on the National Wetland Inventory maps, the center of the property is a wetland. So I don't know how that's going to figure into all the engineering and everything. But that's our concern. We don't want to get flooded. We're certainly not against the church in any way or anything. We just want to make sure, as it's developed and built out, that we don't get any additional flooding onto the property. The other things were the traffic, and I know they have addressed that, but are they looking, will they have to put a turn lane in or anything off of Michigan with that much traffic into the site? You know, we're concerned about that. Is that something that we don't know yet? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, that'll be a question for staff or for
engineering?
the applicant.
Yeah.
That's it. Commission's here to take feedback, certainly, but
Right,
not to
okay.
respond to questions.
And then again, water and sewer, I don't know, from my understanding along Michigan Avenue there, sewage is at Furtick Road. And that's a pretty good little piece down to this property. Are they going to pull septic down or sewer line down, or are they going to use a septic system? Those were another questions we had. And just really wanted to highlight about the flooding and the wetlands through the middle of the property. And even part of our property is in the wetland maps. It shows the wetlands. So we're concerned about any construction on it. We're not opposed at all to the church or anything. So that's the big thing. And then the traffic. Okay?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
All right, and then I also have Richard Branham. Would you like to come forward? Please state your name and address for the record.
My name's Richard Branham. I reside at 3615 Michigan Avenue. Here we go again. I can't even get out of my driveway backing up. It just doesn't happen in, they say, peak periods, almost any time of day. This neighbor, I have no problem with the church at all, as long as it didn't say Satan is Lord. I'm good with it. But I don't see a turn lane. I don't see how 250 people attending the church would park in that, what would you call it, blueprint right there? It just doesn't look like it's going to happen for the neighbors to be. That is a residential area. We've been through this before. We had a halfway house that tried to come in on Michigan Avenue and had a lot of problems with that. The churches there's already churches down towards 192, and the traffic, I mean, I'm retired and I live there now, so I see what's happening on the road. The road either needs to be 4-laned or this, I don't think should happen. I counted 12 school buses Friday rolling south on Michigan. Nobody else can do anything when they're all nose to tail. And then we all know most parents pick up their kids. So these peak hours are just part of it. But during the rest of the day, we know how churches operate. And not only will they have their services, which they should, but they've stated they want to help the community too. Well, that's going to be more when you do ministry for the community, you're going to have attendance in that too. So this neighbor, thinks that it's not a good fit. It will. Right now, I have to drive through my neighbor's yard to get out of my driveway. So I drive through his yard to get into his flag lot to get out of my driveway. And I almost got rear-ended coming out today, so.
Well, be safe out there. It is definitely.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate your time.
All right, thank you. Do we have anyone else from the public that would like to speak at this time? Yes, you may come forward. If you filled out a form, just please state your name and address for the record.
Please remember to submit your forms after your presentation. Thank you.
Yeah, just need to figure out where.
Sure.
My name is Joanna Edwards. I live at 3400 Michigan Avenue. I'm on the other side from the Campbells. I'm on the other side. And I know they're saying they're building the church back. My house is 200 feet from the road, which means it's probably going to be butt up to where my house is. I have a daughter that works 12-hour shifts overnight, and she doesn't need to come home and have loud music playing so that she can't sleep to be able to put in another nurse's shift for 12 hours. Plus the pond on there, because we did own that piece of property before it was sold. And the pond on there is, we have dove in there and cannot get to the bottom. It never dries up. It may be spring fed. We even tried to take a large piece of equipment to dig it out and almost lost it in there because we could never hit the bottom. I don't know how easy that's going to be to fill if it is a spring fed, because like I said, when all these other ponds dry up, that one never dries up. We lived there. I've lived there since I was in 5th grade before it was sold. So my biggest concern is the noise. I have animals on my property because I am zoned to be able to continue to have animals, because when I was forced to annex into the city, I was in the county and I had horses and chickens and everything. So I still have those animals, and then that concerns me too, because I don't want them, scared of the extra traffic and noise and everything that's coming in. So I am against it because of the fact that I think it's going to be butt up against my house, pretty much. Maybe, I have a little pasture ways, but if my house is 200 feet back and they're about that, then it's going to be right up against where I sleep. So I wish that we did not have to do that. There's several pieces of property on Michigan Avenue that are already zoned for commercial, and I don't know why they can't look at that, because it's already zoned for commercial instead of taking a residential area. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I believe we had one other person. Please
Ma'am,
state your
please
name
be
and address for the
Ma'am,
record.
please be sure to turn in your slip.
I filled out the form. So. My name is Daniel Kirk. I live at 3601 Michigan Avenue, St. Cloud 34769. I'm here to ask that you do not approve this conditional use permit. This area south of the schools is a residential area, and if you look at the map, there is nothing compatible with this requested zoning change. The 10 acres right across the street from my house, just north, has been approved, rezoned from RE and agricultural to R1B. There's going to be 30 houses going in, probably 100 yards from where this property is being proposed. The direction of the neighborhood is towards residential. It's clear. Muni Code 3.5.1, General Provisions for Residential Zoning Districts, C, permitted use, accessory uses, and structures which, number 4, are not of a nature likely to attract visitors in larger numbers than would normally be expected in the zoning district. 250 people in their cars coming back and forth. You can't tell me in July, when we all know it's going to be 90-something degrees and you have pie plates on your arms from sweating, that you're going to be walking and bicycling to this location. You're going to be in your car, so that's going to be even more traffic. Number 5, do not involve operations or structures not in keeping with the character of the zoning district. Again, this is a residential area. There's nothing but homes. New custom homes are being built, and the zoning is being changed to allow for more houses to be built in that area. A 5,000 square foot building with 69 parking spots is in direct conflict with those regulations. The applicant paid $245,000 for this lot and is in my opinion, is trying to save money by changing the zoning rather than purchase and build in an area already zoned for this purpose. Because, as we all know, commercial property is very expensive. So to come down and change the zoning where I've lived for 28 years is a cost savings for him, but it's going to be a hardship for me. In 2005, a religious group bought the home next door to me and asked for a conditional use permit when the property was in the county. That CU was denied then, and despite the group filing a federal lawsuit claiming religious discrimination, the county prevailed. So if it was good back in 2005 and all the money that the county spent fighting that CU then, I don't see why the council would approve this now. Back then, staff also recommended approval for the project, and it was denied by the commission. The traffic is bad already. My 77-year-old mother tried to get to my house today from 192. She couldn't get there. She had to turn around, go down Vermont Avenue, come down Nolte, and come up the back way on Michigan. Please keep this neighborhood what it is, residential, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. All right, at this time, would the applicant like to address any of the questions or concerns from the public?
Mr. Chairman, was that the extent of the public comment? So none other?
Is there anybody else that would like to make public comment?
I just want to confirm that. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. We'll be closing the public comment at this time. So once again, would the applicant like to address some of the questions and concerns?
Again, Chris Bravo, Bravo Engineering. I'll be speaking on behalf of the applicant. I didn't make a list of the comments, so I'll do my best from memory to address them. With regards to the stormwater, of course, there are state and local criteria for stormwater. And the result will be that it's going to be a managed, engineered system as opposed to what's out there right now, which is, the natural condition. So while the minimum criteria for an engineered system is that it cannot exceed what happens in what's called the pre-development condition, the fact of the matter is it will in all likelihood be a significant improvement over the existing condition with regards to flood control and what's called attenuation and treatment. So it is my expectation that, I would do my best as a design professional to ensure that the system, doesn't have adverse impacts on the site or the community. And I'm sure that staff, as well as the Water Management District, would be sure to, hold me to that standard. So I don't think that the neighbor would have any issues as far as that goes. And of course, if they did, there's always that opportunity to come back and require the church to make further modifications. So again, I don't foresee that as being an issue. Somebody asked about utilities. The church is in conversation with Hoh Water Authority to bring water and sewer to the site. So it is my expectation that it would not be, well or septic or anything of that nature. And with the utility extension, it would give the opportunity for neighbors to tie in if they so choose. So again, right there, the church would kind of be doing some of the heavy lifting to improve the opportunities for the neighbors should they choose to participate in that. Again, with regards to the traffic and the parking, the ratios utilized were not something that I just thought were a good idea. They're what is a standard that's been adopted by the city, and based on my several decades of experience, is generally in alignment with other communities in the area. This is a very typical parking ratio that most religious or assembly have to meet. And again, in this case, whether the parking is in the middle or towards the back, we are providing a fairly significant queue length. So again, you would not anticipate that there would ever be a situation where incoming traffic would be backing up onto the road. There's ample opportunity for them to queue before getting to the parking space. while they do want to be an asset to the community, to minister to the community, to provide additional resources to the community, you wouldn't expect, you'd expect your peak number coming and going to be for worship services, not somebody who's showing up for maybe a job training seminar or an AA meeting or Boy Scout, troop meeting, or things of those natures, where almost anything that you can imagine would, in all likelihood, result in a smaller number of trips than what the site is designed to handle.
Do you know what times the planned church services would be? Like what days and what times?
I'll let Dr. Harris address that one.
I need you to say my name again.
Just for the record.
Okay, Monique Harris. We have Sunday morning worship at 10:30 a.m. and we have Sunday evening at 7. We have Tuesday prayer service at 7:30, and the second and the third Friday of every month we have a service at 7:30.
So again, as previously discussed, it's not crazy early in the morning, nor is it coinciding with the peak travel times on the local roads.
Can you address their proximity to homes that they've mentioned, and also the noise or the sound or the music?
Well, I know looking at the capacity, we said anywhere from 150 to 250. And so we're looking to probably hit somewhere in the middle. But the way the drawing is, the building was put on that side there to kind of be in the not in the way or in the sound. And there's a house that's right on the front that they are aware that we're going to build a church. I am familiar with, because I've seen the horses, but there's also some space in between. So the best that I could say it is in the design of the building to have some acoustics. But I don't know if I just answered your question.
I don't know either. Do you all, have you all met any of the neighbors or talked to anybody in the community?
Yes, I have met the resident that's on the front next door, but on the front part of the property, which is, his house is right there. I'm pointing, I apologize. I have met them, but I haven't met anybody else. Because on the other side, there's a house there, but there's no one there. It doesn't seem to be, let me say that. Oh, I apologize. I apologize.
I would
I've just never seen any cars. But
I would just suggest that, it definitely is a residential community with a lot of passionate people who've lived in a little bit of a country atmosphere for a while, so I would think that might be a really good outreach. Just a thought.
No, it's a good thought.
One question. I believe one of the people who were commenting, if I understand them correctly, when they were talking about the pond, it sounds like that part of the engineering plan will be to fill in an existing pond area. Is that a correct assessment of what was being said?
So I did think of something else, by the way, which was somebody had made a comment about the pond having been partially filled in. The current owner recently acquired the property and has not made any improvements at this time, so I'm not exactly sure what the previous owner may have done to it. But again, we will absolutely, in the design, ensure that whatever the final design is, that there are no adverse impacts. The young lady who made the comment about the depth of the pond, we have not done soundings yet, and I'm glad she brought that to our attention, because I will strongly recommend to Dr. Harris, before we select a final direction with regards to the design, that we go ahead and do that. If it turns out, it's 5 feet deep, 10 or 20 or 50 or 100, could certainly, inform the direction we go. It was my assumption that wetland area was, inches or, feet at the most. To learn that it may be, tens of feet or more is something that, again, I'm glad to learn. That may be the case, and we'll certainly look into and figure out what the best going forward would be to, again, create a situation that's appropriate for both the applicant and for the neighbors.
And I think, if I may, the purpose or the concept, perceptional concept of having two of the drawings is that if we had to leave the pond where it is, then the parking would go in the back. But our preference would be is put the parking where the pond is right now, if that's suitable for the city, and then put the pond in the back.
The other thought I was having, and of course this may end up being constrained by site conditions as we get better information regarding them, is that we are more than happy to discuss with staff as well as with the neighbors to see if there may be a more appropriate location to site the building, so that it, again, I don't think it's the church's intent to be a bad neighbor.
It's not our intent at all.
I do have a question. This may be a staff question, but this is on factual matter item number 2. And the text that's italicized says this area has been identified as livable suburb in the Envision St. Cloud master plan and is almost entirely residential uses with limited walkability. By granting the conditional use, the walkability and services provided to the intermediate area would be in line with the ideals of enhancing our livable suburbs. Therefore, this use is consistent with the general pattern of land development within this zoning district. So my question is, if there's limited walkability currently, how is the walkability and services provided to the immediate area in line with enhancing our livable suburbs?
Good evening, Stephanie Streeter, Associate Planner. So the idea is that right now there is limited walkability. The idea of a livable suburb within our Envision St. Cloud is to provide more walkability. Places like churches provide that to the surrounding communities. They encourage other places to come in and provide walkability, improve the area to meet those standards. So this is sort of the catalyst into the livable suburb area.
So what about sidewalks in this area? What is adjacent? Is there sidewalks already in place in this area? It's hard to see if there's any on the actual conceptual master plan as well.
So at this time, this is just the concept plan. So all of that will get addressed at the site development plan level.
Understood. Just, if we're going to say we want it to be walkable, we should show
Again, that will get
sidewalks.
addressed at the site development plan.
Yeah.
Does the site have any possibility for growth? It sounds like when we were talking with the parking, that right now it's meeting the minimal requirement for parking for the potential number of people at the church. Churches typically grow if they're doing well. Is there, would the land, permit for increasing in the parking or?
I don't think the land as is that's currently owned by the church has much opportunity for growth, and it sounds like the church is already prepared to concede a reduction in the design standard, as far as capacity within the sanctuary, in which case, if we don't reduce the number of parking, it will be overparked to some extent. And we may, depending on the response or the feedback we get from staff, elect to reduce the parking or maybe provide overflow in the form of a stabilized or grass parking or something of that nature. And so, again, I may be speaking out of turn here, but if the church does experience the growth that you are expressing, that I think most ministries hope to achieve, that they may find themselves needing to move out of this location and find one better suited for a larger congregation.
I have a question about the area on the conceptual site plan that we're looking at that's labeled loading area. What is the intent of that area?
That would be things such as, music equipment. Yeah, please.
that concept was, so if we had to do a funeral service or something like
That's right.
that, we would be able to back that up and, have that, and versus having the casket coming through the front door.
Okay, I'm only asking that because it does face the main road, I believe Michigan Avenue, is that correct?
There is a house and quite a bit of, it's.
Vegetation.
Oh, I
Right,
see, yeah, there's an
setback.
adjacent property there, okay, I see.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And again, we're definitely open to whatever enhanced landscaping might be recommended by staff or required by staff.
Again, part of the site development.
Yes.
Correct.
We're just talking about the use of the land.
Yeah, I think for me, the only concern I have is item number 6. Can the conditional use development be designed to function effectively for its intended purpose without creating negative off-site impacts for adjoining parcels? And that's just the concerns of some of the residents here of traffic and drainage. Do any other commission members have any other questions
No more
for
questions?
the applicant?
I do. I lived in this town for 45 years, and Michigan Avenue cannot take any more traffic. You got kids. If you drive there and you look at it, these poor neighbors are dodging the cars. There has to be some happy medium. Like Commissioner Chesko said, meet with them, see if you can come up with something. Have a spaghetti dinner or something in the church and just meet the neighbors, know their life, know the years that they've been there. And thank you for doing a good job with the Lord.
Ma'am, we appreciate your consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, if there's no other discussion, I'd like to call for a motion.
I would like to make a motion to deny resolution number, number 2024-007R, based on 6 factual matters within the Land Development Code.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion and a second.
If I can, just discussion comment. It's just commentary that no disrespect intended. It just is,
Yeah.
I believe might be better places suited without so much impact on the surrounding community.
I agree with that comment.
All right, so I'd like to call for a vote at this time. All that would like to deny resolution number 2024-007R?
And just to clarify for the commission, the motion was to recommend denial of the conditional use, which was
Recommend
seconded.
denial, yes.
So a vote of aye in favor of the motion is in favor of the denial. That's consistent, so you understand.
Okay, so all in favor of denial?
Aye.
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 No.
Motion passes 4-1. This matter will come before council. Do we know what date this will be brought? Is this going to be brought?
February 8th.
February 8th, this will come before the council.
Yes.
And just as a point for the commission and for those in attendance, the planning commission serves predominantly in an advisory capacity, and so these are recommendations being made to city council. So this case will then appear, this that we just heard is going to appear before the council on the 8th of February, Ms. Streeter. Is that right? Okay, thank you very much. So the motion passes 4-1, recommending denial.
Okay, next order of business is resolution number 2024-008R, City Beautiful Ballet, DRC case number CNU 23-00009.
Good evening, Commissioners. Stephanie Streeter, Associate Planner. Tonight I'm presenting CNU 23-00009, City Beautiful Ballet Conditional Use. It is located at 1424 South Narcousie Road, and the applicant is requesting approval of Resolution 2024-008R. For background, this is located in the Neighborhood Business Zoning District, and it has a future land use designation of commercial. This is an existing ballet studio. Staff would like to note their certificate of use expired, and they did not renew their certificate of use within the 180 days, so they are required to come back to get a conditional use that meets today's Land Development Code standards. So it is an existing ballet studio in an existing retail strip plaza, and the Neighborhood Business Zoning District does require a conditional use, and there are no adverse impacts on city facilities. So this is the subject property for the current zoning and the future land use map. And staff is recommending approval of Resolution 2024-008R, and staff and the applicant are available for any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would the applicant like to present anything, or?
I don't think we necessarily have anything to present. We're just a small nonprofit little ballet studio. The previous owner left, and so we changed the name, and we went through the process of getting approval, not realizing we needed approval until we were late. So we apologize for that, and we did everything that we should do, I believe. And so we are just wanting approval if we can get it.
Okay, thank you. Can you just please state your name and
My name
address
is
for the record?
Demerick Patton. 1424 South Narcousie is the address where we are located. Is that what you asked?
Oh, your address.
Well, my address is 9027 Oak Commons Way, Orlando, Florida, 32832.
Thank you. Does the commission have any questions for staff or the applicant at this time?
No.
No.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we will open up public comment at this time. I do not have any submitted forms. Would anybody in the audience like to speak about this case? Okay. Then at this time, I will close the public comment session. This time, does the commission have any comments or questions?
Nope.
So just to clarify, this is Ballet Studio is already there. They just missed the conditional use, and they're just renewing it based on the new.
Yes, once it expires, they have 180 days. If they don't meet that, they have to revert back to what it was. So they'll have to come back and get their conditional use.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds easy. Okay, so this time I'll call for a motion.
I would like to make a motion to approve resolution number 2024-008R based on the 6 factual matters within the Land Development Code.
I'll second it.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor for the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. All right, so next order of business is resolution number 2024-009R, Kitty Academy, St. Cloud, and this is DRCK CNU 23-00011.
Good evening, Stephanie Streeter, Associate Planner, presenting CNU 23-00011 Kitty Academy St. Cloud conditional use that is located generally east of Lafayette Trace Circle, west of Canoe Creek Road, north of Marietta Way, and south of Nolte Road. And the applicant is requesting approval of Resolution 2024-009R. For background, this is located in the Stevens Plantation Plan Unit Development PUD, specifically in the Nolte Road Commercial Park. It does have a future land use designation of low-density residential. They're proposing a 2-story daycare facility that is approximately 5,000 square feet. And within the Stevens Plantation PUD, this area is required to have a conditional use for a daycare facility. And there are no adverse impacts on city facilities. So this is the current zoning and the future land use map. This is their provided concept plan. It was provided in your packet as well for reference. And staff is recommending approval of Resolution 2024-009R with the following conditions. The approval of the requested conditional use does not constitute the approval of the provided concept plan as a site plan. Changes to the site will require approval of a site development plan and any additional approvals required by the Land Development Code. So again, staff is recommending approval of Resolution 2024-009R with the conditions as stated by staff, and staff and the applicant are available for any questions.
Thank you. Is the applicant present, and would you like to speak on behalf? Please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, good evening. My name is Todd Howder. I'm with MBV Engineering. I'm representing the client, the applicant who's here, Mr. Usman Lone. We've been working with staff on the CU, and we thank for staff's time. They did a great job at presenting. As you can see, we're presenting a two-story daycare center in the Nolte Road Commercial Plaza. That's just to the east of the existing neighborhood Walmart Plaza. And we would just like to propose a daycare center, which we think would be a great fit for this area. It'll provide a nice service to the surrounding community. The Nolte Road Commercial Center is already an established area, a PUD, with infrastructure we would just be connecting to. And the Kiddie Academy is only going to be open Monday through Friday. It's not going to be open on the weekends. And the hours of operation are only 6:30 in the morning to 6:30 at night. So it's not going to have any type of nighttime operations, nothing like the Walmart or anything like that. So a very, very soft use that provides a great service for this area. We're available for any questions you may have, and we appreciate your time and consideration this evening.
Thank you. Does the commission have any questions for the applicant?
How many children are you looking forward to?
Yes, they're looking for 140 children.
400?
No, 140 children.
Oh.
Yes.
Almost
No.
gave me a stroke right there.
No. 140.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, well, at this time, I'd like to allow for public comment. I do not have any submitted forms. Does anybody in the public want to come forward and speak on behalf of this? Okay. Then at this time, I will close the public comment session. And commission, do we have any questions for the city staff or the applicant?
I have a question, sir. What are the hours going to be for the nursery?
Yeah, the Kiddie Academy itself is 6:30 in the morning to 6:30 at night, and then they're closed on the weekends.
I guess my only question or possible concern is, I do like that it's off the main, feeder road or arterial road. Is there a plan in place for cars as far as, and I know it's early for this and everything, but even with daycare, you may have cars lining up similar to like a school or something like that.
Yeah, and you're right. We have to go through the site plan process, which a traffic study is going to be required, and work with staff on that. The Kiddie Academy is actually a franchise, and they've had their own traffic studies they've done for quite some time all over the United States. And the way they have it staggered, they've done quite a few parking studies that they don't all come at one time, and the drop-offs are usually in 10-minute intervals, starting at 6:30 all the way through 10:30, because there's various times with various children when the mothers and fathers drop them off. So it's not, even though that it has that capacity, it's a very staggered inflow and outflow for the parking. And then the staff itself, they're only going to have 17 staff. And most of the kids also, over 70% are usually 2 kids per car. So it's not 140 cars coming in. It's not that type of projection by any means. So,
Okay, yeah, I'm glad you explained that, and I've experienced the staggered pickup and drop-off at other schools,
Yes.
and it does work better, in my opinion.
correct.
Thank you. Any other questions for the applicant or city staff at this time?
No.
Okay. Then I would like to call for a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval of resolution number 2024-009R, based on the 6 factual matters within the Land Development Code.
One condition,
Accepting conditions.
A second.
All right, I have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passes.
Passes 5-0.
Motion passes 5-0. Okay, next is ordinance number 2024-04. This is Amelia Groves, Phase 1 and 2. And the DRC case number is ANX 23-00011.
Good evening, Melissa Dunklin, Director of Community Development. If you will, can we please read all 3 ordinances
Yes.
for the annexation, future land use, and zoning altogether?
Yes. So in addition to resolution number 2024-04, we also have ordinance number 2024-05, which is DRC case CPA 23-00018. And we have ordinance number 2024-06, which is DRC case number ZMA 23-00015.
Just for clarification for the public, so this Amelia Groves project is going to be discussed and presented in its totality. The commission will take each of the ordinances individually when voting as to the recommendation, but if those in the public wish to speak on Amelia Groves, they'll have an opportunity once Ms. Dunklin concludes her presentation along with the applicant.
Thank you. Okay, again, Melissa Dunklin, Director of Community Development. The request before you tonight is for the annexation, future land use, and zoning map amendments for the property known as Amelia Groves. The property is approximately 91 acres and is located east and south of Nova Road, west of Pine Grove Road, and north of Lake Lizzie Drive. This is a request for a voluntary annexation due to an encumbrance, and what that means is that when the city provided water and sewer services to this development, they signed an agreement stating that once they are contiguous to city limits, that they would voluntarily annex. This property is contiguous and reasonably compact, and the existing future land use for the county is low-density residential. The existing zoning from the county is low-density residential as well. They are proposing to be low-density residential in the city with an R1B single-family dwelling zoning district. The area is compatible with the surrounding area and will have no adverse impacts on city facilities. Here is a graphic representation of the location of this project. As you can see, the current city limits are in yellow, and this property is contiguous to that boundary. These are graphic representations of the future land use and zoning maps. The project will be developed in 2 phases and will have 311 single-family homes. They will provide 2 access points on Pine Grove Road, and the future connections will be on the northwest and south of the development, meaning that they'll stub out to those abutting properties, and we will be accepting any county approvals. This request meets the strategic plan goal for growth management. DRC and staff reviewed this request, and we are recommending approval on the annexation, the comp plan amendment to assign their future land use, and the zoning map amendment. And we are requesting that this planning commission also recommend approval for ordinance number 2024-04, 2024-05, and 2024-06. At this time, staff and the applicant are available for any questions.
Thank you.
Melissa, can you, you'd said that accepting any county approvals, can you clarify that a little?
Right, so they've already been working with the county to obtain development approvals, and that's when the annexations are typically triggered. Whenever you're contiguous and you're looking to develop the property, that's when we are allowed to move forward with annexations, because we have the joint planning agreement with Osceola County that allows us to do that.
Okay, then it starts falling under the city.
Correct.
And everything, yeah.
Correct.
And it's really just them keeping the promise, everybody keeping their promise that this was to happen, like you said, as soon as the utilities were out there.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Mhm.
I do like to see the multiple entry/exit points that are shown in the conceptual plan. Is there any way to ensure that those are actually put in, or I mean,
Yes.
is that part of the approval?
Right,
the
so
condition?
they will have approved plans. They have their site development plans and final subdivision plans, it appears, already approved through the county. So either the county will ensure that they meet the requirements that have been approved in their plan, or once the city accepts it, our inspectors will go out there and make sure that they do. As of right now, we are working with the county and the applicant to figure out who's going to do what part. Most likely, the county will finish out whatever they've already started, and then we'll pick up on the next phase. That's typically how we try to do it, but that has not been finalized yet. It will be worked out before it gets to city council. But either way, we're going to move forward with the annexation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is the applicant present, and would you like to come forward and speak on it? There is.
Well,
You're
Dagmar.
basically the applicant.
Right, exactly. Dagmar wanted me to point that out, that we are the
Yeah.
applicant. The developer, I think, left. I thought it was Sean Hindle, but I think he left.
Fair enough. Well, we can continue. Sean, would you like to speak on behalf of this?
Hey, good evening, Sean Hindle, Hanson Walton Associates, 8 Broadway, Kissimmee, Florida, 34741. I'm not the engineer of record for this project. It was Osceola Engineering. And my client on your next items is not the developer. The developer's Pulte Homes, Chris Wren. I did have some questions, though. So maybe I should ask him on this one, and then you can answer my next, or should you wait till the next one? I'll wait till the next one.
Okay.
But it's going to affect both. Just
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right, so does the commission have any additional questions before we open up public comment?
Yeah, this, so this subdivision, they've already planned for the houses through the county. They're coming, are they gonna have to follow our design standards and parking requirements if annexed?
Typically, we accept the plans exactly how they were approved in the county. So I haven't actually reviewed these plans personally. The county's planners and our planners will work together to ensure that there is adequate parking, but typically we accept the plans as they're approved in the county, as not to slow down the development process.
So even with the homes, any, because we passed that whole architectural designs, that wouldn't apply to this because it's already been approved through the county.
Correct. And I don't know off the top of my head, maybe someone on my staff does, how many parking spaces per single-family residential unit is required. But I know for us, it's 4.5 parking spaces. 2.5. They believe it's 2.5 at the county.
4, I guess. He's indicating 4.
4? 4.5 for the county as well? Okay. Mr. Hindle believes it's 4.5. So that would be the same as the city, if that is the case.
The parking, I wasn't so much concerned about as the architectural effects of the actual homes.
So because it's single family, we cannot, in most cases, regulate the architecture. There was legislation that was passed as of July 1 for single and two-family dwelling units, unless it's a planned unit development, which I don't know that this one is. But we typically cannot enforce architectural standards for single and two-family dwelling units. What we can enforce are siting standards. So we'll look at the models and make sure that there's a non-monotony clause so that you don't have the same house right across the street from each other or diagonal on the same street, and any other siting standards like setbacks and height requirements. But in most cases, we can't regulate the actual materials and things like that any longer.
Okay.
Just keep in mind, commissioners, these are the bigger issues tonight.
Yeah.
The annexation, land use, and zoning are really the bigger overview issues before the commission tonight on these items.
Thank you. All right, at this time, I would like to allow for public comment. Is there anybody in the audience tonight that would like to speak on behalf of this ordinance, or these ordinances, I should say? Okay. Then at this time, I will close the public comment session, and we can allow for additional commission discussion or any further questions we have for staff at this time.
Nope.
Just would remind the commissioners to take each of these ordinances in individual on your motions for clarity for the record, please.
I just want to comment that I said this at the beginning, but I like to see that there's more entrances and exits out of this proposed development that allows for more connectivity for future growth. Other than that, that's the only comment I had. All right. If we have no other discussion or comments, I'd like to call for a motion on the first one, which is ordinance number 2024-04, DRC case ANX 23-0001, which is the annexation of the property into the city of St. Cloud.
I would like to make a motion to recommend the approval of ordinance number 2024-04 based on the 16 findings within the Land Development Code.
Second.
Okay, I have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so moving on to
Passes 5-0.
passes 5-0. Ordinance number 2024-05, DRC case CPA 23-00018, and this is the requesting consideration of a future land use map amendment. Do I have a motion?
I would like to make a motion to recommend the approval of ordinance number 2024-05 based on the 16 findings within the Land Development Code.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 5-0. Last one, ordinance number 2024-06. This is DRC case ZMA 23-00015, and this is the consideration of zoning map amendment. Do I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to recommend the approval of ordinance number 2024-06 based on the 16 findings within the Land Development Code.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 5-0. Okay, next order of business is ordinance number 2024-07, Trinity Place, and this is DRC case ANX 23-00012.
These are all for these cases.
Are these all together as well?
Please.
Okay. And then the second one is ordinance number 2024-08, also Trinity Place, and this is for future land use map amendment, and the DRC case is CPA 23-00019. And then the third one is ordinance number 2024-09. This is the consideration for a zoning map amendment, and this is DRC case ZMA 23-00016.
Thank you. Again, Melissa Dunklin, Community Development Director. The request before you tonight is for another annexation, comp plan amendment to assign a future land use and zoning map amendment for the project known as Trinity Place. It is approximately 72 acres and is located east and south of Nova Road, west of Pine Grove Road, and north of Lake Lizzie Drive. The property is contiguous and reasonably compact, and it abuts the city limits on the south and east. The existing future land use is low-density residential in the county, and it is also low-density residential regarding the zoning for the county. The proposed future land use in the city is low-density residential with an R1B single-family dwelling. The property is compatible with the surrounding area and will have no adverse impacts on city facilities. This is the location map that graphically displays their location, showing you that it is contiguous to city limits to the south there. And again, the yellow is the city limits. Here's their future land use and zoning map as it currently stands in the county. Oh, something's not right here.
Yeah, I think that slides from the previous.
Yeah, I think they accidentally duplicated this presentation. Sorry, this is not my project. The planner was unable to make it tonight, so I'm presenting on her behalf. That's not accurate. So what I'm going to have is...
Ours is accurate here, though.
Is yours accurate?
Yeah, I believe ours is. Ours
Let
says
me grab my tablet.
Yeah.
Could we just take one of these and put it up on the overhead? If we have to.
You can, if you wish.
There is 311 in the packet, too.
Yeah, my tablet, it's in the file, it's the
I'll
same
give them mine. They can-
presentation.
They can put it on the overhead so the audience can see. Is that all right?
Yes. And then thankfully, the applicant is here for this one, so he can go into more detail on the project description.
Is that correct?
That's just the map.
Yeah,
that doesn't have the information.
it doesn't have the project description. I'll need the staff report for that. So I apologize.
In the meantime, I guess we can, Mr. Hindle, would you
Yeah,
like to?
let me wrap up my presentation, and then
Yeah, that's
he can get into the details. If we can go back to the presentation. As long as I can ensure the ordinance numbers are correct. Okay, looks like the ordinance numbers are correct. Okay, so staff reviewed this request and we are recommending approval. It is much like the prior project where it's already contiguous to city limits. They did sign an encumbrance agreement and we want to move forward with the annexation future land use assignment and the zoning map amendment. Looks like my presentation just disappeared, so I'm going to go off my agenda here. So we are recommending approval of ordinance number 2024-7, 2024-08, and 2024-09. And we are available if you have any questions, and the applicant is here, and whoever decided to punk me tonight, good job, good job.
Thank you. Mr. Hindle, would you like to speak
Good
on
evening,
behalf?
Sean Hendel, Hans Walter Associates, 8 Broadway, Suite 104, Kissimmee 34741. We're not the applicant. The city's the applicant, but I do represent the developer, and that's who I'm speaking on behalf of.
Thank you for clarifying.
So that slide was correct. We're 311 units. We're parked in excess of 4.5 spaces per unit. We have a large amenity center, a large play field, walking trails. It's a very nice development. We're currently in construction, just moved into phase 2 of the infrastructure. It's a 2-phase development. And we're starting our roadways and our utilities for the second phase. Timing is difficult, and I guess it always is, but under the JPA and the transitions from the county to the city, we've run into some really problems with some of our other projects, some financial and some just logistics. So I'll talk on all three, but let's start with the annexation. I'm sure my client is excited. I think the residents will be excited to be part of the city of St. Cloud. City Beautiful, it's wonderful. So we don't have any problem with annexing into the city, but we would ask that be postponed till later in the year, once our inspections are done and our infrastructure is complete. Because what we've run into with 3 other projects, 2 recent, one actually was Hanover Developments, Hanover Lakes, is when they annexed into the city, the inspection fees at the county, you have to pay all in advance for the entire development. So they don't let you get plans for your whole development and pay your inspection fees per phase. Their system needs one check. So we pay all those inspection fees up front. They tell us we're going to get them back, and we don't. So for Hanover Lakes, I don't know how much money they're still waiting on, but it's been years. For Edgewater, it's near $500,000 that we've been asking weekly, when are we going to get the money? You've already abandoned the site. Once this is annexed, the county pools all their staff. They don't work out deals with the city and says that we'll inspect through this period. They pool their staff. It's Ray Stengel. He's called me. I begged him not to do that, and he's done it anyways. If the city inspects, it's fine, but we end up having to pay an inspection fee a second time to the city, and then the clients have to come up with that money. And a lot of times it's in the hundreds of thousands, if not the millions of dollars of extra money that they don't have budgeted to pay for these inspections that they've already paid for. So that's one of the main concerns that we have. We also have some permits that are in process. So we have a final subdivision plat for the second phase. It's under review at the county. It will not be complete in time for once the annexation happens. The county's attorney is going to tell them to start over at the city because the final plat cannot be signed by the county if the land's annexed into the city of St. Cloud. So we ran into that with Edgewater. We've run into that with other projects, and they won't allow our plats to continue because the city is the one that's now under the ownership or control of that property. So they don't feel that they can subdivide it as a county. So we've run into this on several occasions. I think definitely by October, we will probably be done with the construction and our final plats will be filed. So I would just ask that we delay that till. I did talk with Dave Tomek today, and Dave is setting up a meeting with city staff and maybe county staff for later this week, where he's attempting to do that so we can talk about it. And maybe this conversation, Dave said that this conversation may be more appropriate to the city council because this is a recommendation, and we're fine with that. If you've got to move forward, we're fine with that. For the land use and the annex and the zoning, so this is LDR in the county, which is 3 to 8 units per acre. In the city, it's 1 to 4. This site is developed at 5.01 units to the acre. So when you assign an LDR land use to this property, just as you just did to the previous ones, they're immediately non-conforming. So we have more density than our land use allows. You're accepting the approvals of the county, so the PS and the SDP you're accepting as an approval, but I'm not understanding how that works for the zoning. So the zoning in R1B is 62.5-foot wide lots, 7,500 square feet, setbacks of 25, 25, and 10, I believe. Our setbacks are 10-foot front, 5-foot rear, 5-foot sides. So immediately, once this zoning's applied, when we come to pull our building permits, all of our lots that we just platted are all non-conforming. And can you even issue the permit? Because when they pull up the zoning, our lots don't meet your zoning category. So I'm really concerned about that, and maybe staff can explain that to me, but these properties are going to have a non-conforming use. So even if they come back later and it's all done and somebody comes back to put a pool in, the lot's not conforming. They're not going to let them put the pool in. I mean, I'm really concerned on the building side of it for the developer and how he's going to be able to process these, because the zoning and the land use don't match the product that you're annexing in from the county. And I know in the JPA it says that there's supposed to be a seamless process and that they're supposed to do zonings to do away with having to do PDs, but that hasn't happened. So we don't have a zoning that matches the county's LDR or a land use that matches the county's LDR unless you went to an MDR and then a different zoning category, which I think the only one that would be appropriate would be PD. So those are just my concerns on behalf of my client. We'll definitely work them out through staff, but I am concerned that because I don't want to create problems for your future residents.
I just want you to clarify while you're here. The sheet that I'm reading says there's 212 parcels totaling 72.29 acres, but then later it says 311 single-family residential units. So is it 212 parcels right now, but the plan is to change
Most
it?
likely. You have the Phase 1 platted, which created the lots for Phase 1 and open space tracts, amenity tracts. So there's probably 212 parcels. One of those parcels is the Phase 2 future development tract. And that's what I'm assuming is how the 212 came in play. And then when we're done, we will have 311 units plus all of those tracts for recreation, open space. So in the county, it's a little bit different. The county has a recreation standard and an open space standard. The city has an open space standard that includes recreation. So we do it the same way, but they accept what the county did. And I think even on this project, I don't know that it would matter. I think we'd exceed both communities for that. But yeah, it's 311 units is the total. There's 3 product types, which is a requirement in the county. There's a bungalow, which is 34-foot rear load. Then it has front-loaded singles, which are anywhere from 50-foot wide to 70 feet wide. And then you have side entry. So you have a front entry and a side entry garage. And that's how the county creates product types for a variance of product types in the subdivisions.
Okay. Thank you for
And
sharing.
then there's a lot of on-street parking, especially where the rear loads are. We put on-street parking on there as defined parking spaces to create your 4.5 spaces per unit.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, we should probably hear from staff to address the comments. I can tell you from a legal standpoint, I conferred with the city attorney earlier this evening when we received a notification from the gentleman from Hanover about that. Yes, okay, and he's here in attendance here, very good. But there's no legal obstacle in the commission tonight hearing the case from the city if the city wishes to go forward. As Mr. Hindle pointed out, any action taken tonight by the planning commission is from an advisory standpoint. This is scheduled to be heard by the council
February 8th.
February 8th, again, same date. So nothing, tonight would be simply moving the case forward, but from a recommendation standpoint. It's up to the city, of course, as to whether the applicant wishes to move forward. And my understanding is staff wishes to proceed.
That is correct. So regarding the zoning, we're doing what our code allows us to do regarding the automatic conversion from the county into the city in order to complete the annexation more rapidly in order not to delay their project. But they have a year, and we would work with them. They have a year to change their land use and zoning. It's an automatic conversion. But our code allows for up to a year to update the land use and zoning. So that's why it appears that it would be non-conforming. But as I said in my presentation, we will accept the county's approvals, and we would like to move forward with the annexation, keeping in mind that whether we annex or not, this development will be built, and we want to ensure that we receive the impact fees for all the impacts that this development will cause to the city and city residents.
Sure. And that was my understanding of the position of the city and the staff. And so legally, the case can proceed. This commission can hear these matters and make whatever recommendation the commission decides is appropriate. As you heard from Mr. Hindle, there's plans to speak with the city manager and other principals prior to the council meeting. And so those issues and those timings, plus with the comments of Ms. Dunklin, I think the case can go forward and be heard by the commission.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, my first question, Melissa, would be this whole non-conforming thing. So just in simplicity for me, is it just the fact that our county is not paying its bills, basically? This is a financial thing for these folks right now.
Well, those are two separate issues.
Okay.
So what I believe Mr. Hindle is saying is that when they start their development process with the county requires them to pay their inspection fees up front. And so I believe they've already paid their inspection fees with the county. We have a good working relationship with the county where we would come to some sort of consensus as to whether they complete the inspections or whether we do. We are having that meeting it's upcoming. We're trying to schedule it. We have a meeting scheduled tomorrow with only the planning division. It's a standing monthly meeting, so we'll discuss some of these issues. But prior to city council, we'll have worked that out with county staff. I'm not aware of the situations that Mr. Hindle referred to, obviously, because that's between the developers and the applicants and the county. So once we annex, we will continue to move the project forward as quickly as possible. And then regarding the non-conforming, the lot sizes, we use the automatic conversion table in our code, so we're assigning just the basic land use and zoning that the conversion table in our code allows us to automatically convert it to. And then we have up to a year to change it. So we are currently working on our future land use maps, and we plan on bringing those forward, I believe, in March. So I believe it is staff's intent to just automatically reassign it once we update our land use map so that the applicants won't have to go through that process. We'll do it on their behalf as well.
So we would potentially be updating our future land use maps to be more in line with the counties, is what you're saying?
Not necessarily to be in line with the county. So we are doing a complete overhaul on our comp plan. So we are updating our future land use maps to fit City Council's vision for where they want the future of the city to go. And in that, we take requests from citizens and business owners across the city, so that if they want to change their land use and zoning, now would be a good time to do it. Just let us know what they want to change it to, so that we can evaluate it, incorporate it in the update we're going to do anyways. That way they don't have to come through for a separate application process, and we'll brief the council on it. We'll brief you guys on it. Once we bring it back to you, we'll explain all the changes that we're making to the future land use map and why.
Okay, thank you for explaining. You have more to say?
Yeah, just a couple of things. Well, first, if the future land use map and the zoning code is going to be updated in March, then we could at least delay till March so we can have the same land use and zoning. But the problem is in phase one, Hanover is the developer of the infrastructure. So they've sold the lots. They have contracts and they've sold the lots to 3 different builders. And those builders are building right now in phase one subdivision. Phase two, Hanover is going to be the builder, and they're finishing the infrastructure now, and then they'll be pulling the building permits for phase two. As I have 3 active builders that have purchased lots under a contract on how they can build on it, if we assign a zoning category that doesn't meet their criteria for the lots that are there, will those builders still be able to pull the building permits without delay? Because they say that you have up to a year to file a PD. So now we have to come back and file a PD to maintain our you're going to file a PD.
Mr. Handel, but
So
as
you're gonna file a
and I
PD.
appreciate those comments, informative as they are. The commission tonight's just in a position to make a recommendation.
Right.
Anything that takes place tonight, nothing's going to be affecting the applicant, or rather the developer, from tonight. You're going to have time between now and February 8th at a bare minimum to address these issues, and then again before the council. So it's a nice rehearsal, but the staff wishes to proceed. So
Okay.
we'll just assume we're going to go forward tonight with the commission to take whatever action they choose to take, and you will certainly have an opportunity to make the comments that you've made at the council and prior points before. I'm
Yes,
sure.
sir. I sit on the planning commission for the county. I've
Of
chaired it
course.
for years.
Of course. So you
and,
understand.
So I
I know
understand,
you
but I
do.
would never make a recommendation that would create a hardship on an existing person.
I
That's
don't-
just why I'm bringing this to your attention.
I respectfully don't think there will be a hardship on your client by a recommendation. The case will just move forward to council, and then you'll have your turn then. Absolutely.
Thank you. All right, do we have any other questions for the staff or applicant before we move into public comment?
What I'm hearing, and I just need to make sure before I, as a just plain old citizen, giving my opinion to the city council, is that there is a financial situation here, and that's where the burden would come in. If that's not right, then I need to hear that, because that's what I thought I was hearing, is that there's going to be something that you have to pay now if we annex, if everything moves forward, that it's going to be a difficulty.
Okay, so for the inspection fees, we'll work that out with staff.
Okay.
I'm not worried about that. For the contracts for builders that are building houses, that puts him at risk as if they cannot pull building permits while
Okay.
they're waiting for a PD.
All right.
So as long as there's an understanding that the R1B doesn't mean anything, that we're using the county's land development code for the pulling of building permits.
And that our
And-
great staff's going to work well with you to see that everything's done, then that's not a
Yes.
hardship. Okay.
And we don't have a problem if, it's been said that the city wants the impact fees for the developments because they're the ones that are going to have the impact when they annex. We have no problem if they work out an agreement or do a tri-party agreement that we pay our impact fees to the city instead of the county for the building. We don't care. So we can handle that without the annexation right now, but we'll work out that with staff over the next week or so.
You can see just I have this really big heart. Even if it
I
is
know it.
big builders
I love
with
you,
lots of
Dawn.
money, I still don't want them to waste their money. So.
Okay, at this time, we will allow for public comment, and I have one request form from Daniel Kirk. Would you like to come forward and speak?
I think he was the one from Michigan Avenue. You sure that's the right one?
Oh, yeah, this is
Yeah.
old.
Different
Yeah,
case, okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, I remember that name from
Yeah,
Michigan
it's
Avenue.
a different case
Okay,
number.
that's from a prior case, okay.
My apologies. So is there anyone else in the audience that would like to come forward to speak on this case? Okay. This time we will close the public comment session and allow for further discussion of the commission. If we have any other questions for staff or the applicant or would like to discuss any further. Okay. Willing to take the staff's recommendation to approve.
Well,
How
let's,
much?
we'll take the cases in order, remember, one ordinance at a time. 2024-07, 2024-09, one at a time, with whatever motion and direction the commission moves forward.
Call for it, I got it.
All right, so let's start with ordinance number 2024-07. This is annexation, DRC case ANX 23-00012. And I would like to ask for a motion. or
I'd like
call-
to make a motion to recommend approval of ordinance number 20240-07 based on 16 findings within the Land Development Code.
Do I have a second?
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 5-0.
Yep, passes 5-0. Okay, next ordinance number is the comprehensive plan amendment. Ordinance 2024-08, DRC case CPA 23-0019. Do I have a motion?
I motion to pass.
I'll make a motion to recommend approval, ordinance number 202408,
Is that
based on the 16 findings of Land Development Code.
Thank you.
Okay, I have a
Second it.
motion. Do I have a second?
I
that-
second it.
All right, I have a second. I'd like to call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 5-0. Next one is the zoning map amendment, ordinance number 2024-09, DRC case number ZMA 23-00016.
I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval of ordinance number 2024-09 based on the 16 findings within the Land Development Code.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
And matter will be heard on February 8th before City Council. Okay, very good. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
All right, next order of business is ordinance number 2024-11, HCMP, and this is DRC case CDA 23-00004. This is a request to approve for the amendment of general provisions, administration, and boards by adding a new fee to Article 1.2.8.c.
Good evening, Council, Planning Commission, sorry. This is Dagmar Segarra, Deputy Director. Tonight is, in front of you, is a recommendation to amend the Land Development Code to include a new section in Article 10 that it is for the Habitat Conservation and Management Plan, which also known as HCMP. Ordinance number 2024-11, and staff recommends approval. This amendment is to amend the Land Development Code to add a section in Article 10 within the Chapter 2 to integrate the Habitat Conservation Management Plan within the mixed-use districts in the city. The enforcement of the HCMP is to create measurements to protect, preserve, maintain, and conserve the natural resources within the city. The new HCMP section within the MXD, which is the mixed-use district, will be consistent with the Osceola County Habitat Conservation Master Plan, which would allow for the conservation and preservation of regional and significant natural resources by creating wildlife corridors and conservation easement with long-term management requirements. This amendment will include an amendment of Chapter 1 to add the fee for application review and approval, and it's add a section to Article 10 in Chapter 3 to include performance and siting standards for each HCMPs. This is the title ordinance as it was advertised. It meets the strategic goals of growth management, and it is a staff recommendation of approval of ordinance 2024-11, and it's requested of the Planning Commission to do so as well. The city is the applicant, and I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you. Could we go back just 2 slides? Yes, this one. One more. So the long-term management requirements, who would be in charge of that? Is that a state
No,
entity? Or
that will be the developer. That will be part of their
Okay.
agreement with the creation of the plan, that they will have to provide a mechanism of maintenance in perpetuity.
But the city
And they have to
would have to
create-
approve that.
Yeah, the city will have to approve the plan, which would include that maintenance.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying.
And funding and all of that.
So what is the breakdown of this? It's a fee essentially, right? In addition to the management plan?
Yeah, so the way that it works in the county, which is the same one that we are adopting, is that the applicant, if they have land within the mixed-use district that it is, that eventually is going to be annexed into the city, they have, right now through the county, they have to adopt an HCMP, a Habitat Conservation Management Plan. Right now, as we are annexing all of these lands, we're having applicants or developers that are amending those plans or creating brand new plans. So we don't have a mechanism to review these things. So we are basically adopting what the county has in consistently with our joint planning agreement. We were supposed to be adopting all of these as requirements. So once they submit for the plan, within the plan, one of the criteria of the plan is that they have to create a plan that how are they going to preserve conservation areas, and how are they going to manage any existing habitat. And then they have to also create a funding or mechanism of how to maintenance in perpetuity, whether it's through easements or through corridors. They have to provide that to us. Staff will review it. We will send it to a professional at the discretion of the city. And once it gets approved, then we issue the plan. And that plan then moves forward with whatever developers happen in that area. And so when we review new development are coming into the area, we will make sure that it also, that whatever development that comes in matches whatever conservation habitat we have is already approved or we're working on.
So basically, it's kind of like connecting a roadway essentially, right? Except it's a wildlife corridor.
But it's wildlife corridors,
Yeah.
conservation easement, because as we know,
So it kind of requires another development after one is already established to connect to that or provide that interconnect.
no, they have to do it at the same time.
Okay.
So if we have, like, there's conceptual plans right now approved in the county. And those conceptual plans are like what we like to call bubble plans. And they give us the beautiful idea of what we want this to be. The Habitat Conservation Master Plan is the same way. It gives you these beautiful ideas of how things should work, how the water should run, how it should connect in protection to the existing habitat. So what happens is that when the developer is finally ready to go through the subdivision process or a site development plan process, they have to be consistent with that concept plan, with both, with the concept plan that it was approved for development and the habitat management plan. And then they can amend it as they build, because all these conceptual plans are, ideas. And then when you get into the engineering, that's when you get into the nitty-gritty of what really you're going to find out there, and how are you going to adapt it, and how are you going to amend it. So that's what we're experimenting right now with Edgewater as an example. They haven't approved HCMP. Now we have all these construction plans for review, and as they go into engineering, they're finding that they have to make some amendments and some changes to the adopted and already approved HCMP. So now we need to adopt the process in order for us as a staff in the city review those amendments.
And so this only applies to mixed-use districts?
Yes, it's only, at this time, it would only apply to mixed-use districts.
Yep, okay, excellent. Thank you for the
You're welcome. No problem.
description. I appreciate it. Okay, any questions for staff at this time? No? All right. We're going to allow for public comment. Is there anybody here that would like to speak about this ordinance? Okay. If not, then we will close the public comment session. Any other questions or discussion? All right. At this time, I would like to call for a motion. Then.
I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval for ordinance number 2024-11, based on the 16 findings within the Land Development Code.
I second.
All right. I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 5-0. Okay, next one is ordinance number 2024-12. This is the Walker property. DRC case PUD 23-00009.
Good afternoon, Commission. This is Tisha Manning, Zoning Manager for Community Development. The case before you is the Walker Property PUD, Preliminary Master Plan, Final Master Plan, and Preliminary Subdivision Plan. The property is approximately 25.59 acres, located south of Chisholm Park Trail, west of South Narcoossee Road, and north of Old Oak Trail. The applicant's request is approval of ordinance number 2024-12. Staff also recommends approval. The background, the property has an existing zoning now of RE, which is single-family dwelling, and they're proposing PUD, which is planned unit development. This is a graphic depiction of where the property is located and the surrounding zonings, as well as future land use in that area. Some details about the PUD: it's going to be a total of 69 dwelling units. Approximately, it's going to be single-family detached, and they're going to have lot widths of 75 feet on the exterior lots with 62.5 feet on the interior lots. The gross residential density is going to be 3.30 dwelling units per acre, which is less than the 4 dwelling units per acre in low-density residential. So right now, I just wanted to make sure you understand the development regulations. So for the current zoning, which is existing, is RE. So the minimum site area is 15,000 square feet with a minimum lot width of 100 feet. What they're proposing is a minimum site area of 7,500 square feet with a 62.5 feet is the minimum lot width. Again, not forgetting that they will have some 75 feet lot widths on the exterior lots. Again, it's a single-family development. They're going to provide the multi-use trail extension, active recreation area, tot lot and dog park, as well as the entire development is going to have high-density plantings and all of their buffering, anything along Chisholm Park and Albany Avenue. And they're going to also provide future access connections to the abutting roads. This is just a depiction of their preliminary master plan and the layouts of those units. The units along the exterior, the dark brown, they're the 75 feet lots, and the lighter shaded ones are the ones that are 62.5. Staff is recommending approval with conditions of ordinance 2024-12, and one of the conditions is they provide written approval from Osceola County Transportation and Transit on an entrance and access to and from Narcoossee Road. So I'm going to go back to show you the area we're talking about is here. And likewise, staff asked that Planning Commission also recommend approval. Staff is available for any questions as well as a representation from the applicant.
So currently, the property does not access Narcousie?
No, this property currently right now, the entrance, let's go back to the preliminary plan. So if we take away all of this stuff that is there, the access is Chisholm Park right now.
Okay, I see.
That's the only way to get to any of these properties in here.
Okay.
And both areas will stay open then? I mean, they'll still be able to go top and bottom?
Yes.
Ms. Manning, if I could just add, was there more than one condition? My note was that there was multiple conditions. Is it just one condition?
Just one condition.
Oh, I misread.
All right, any other questions? All right.
Commission
I
have
have
any
a question.
questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Are you going to put any lights out there? I have a family that lives out there, and I take the kids home sometimes, and it's disastrous. And they're inside Chisholm Park.
John R. Adams, R.J. Whitney Associates, 316 Church Street, Kissimmee, Florida, 34741. Where are you referring to light? A street light?
Traffic light.
Okay, traffic light.
Narcousie Road is treacherous.
Understand, yeah. Further in the process, once we get to a site development plan, there'll be what's called a TIA, a traffic impact analysis, and that'll determine whether or not a traffic light will be needed at any of the intersections at the connections with Narcousie Road.
Are you going to make any indentations for the Lynx bus to stop? Because I almost saw one get hit the other day out there.
I'm not familiar with the Lynx bus stops, so that would be up to the Lynx bus and their designated stops.
I don't want to tell you what I think of that right now. Wash your hands like Princess Pilate. You know, you got people on the buses, you got kids.
Understand? Any other questions from staff?
Nope, not me. Thank you.
Not at this time. Anybody else?
Do you understand what that is?
Okay, this time we'll allow for public comment. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak on behalf of this ordinance?
Thank you.
Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
Sure. Good evening, Commission. Nice to see you again. I am Jackie Fricchione, and I live at 4872 Chisholm Park Trail. I could answer a lot of questions on this development since we've been working with this builder for over a year now. It did go to council last year, and council denied the PUD because the builder refused to increase the lots to what the residents, the compatibility, the surrounding property owners. We even petitioned the council that nothing in there be less than 85 foot wide with 120 to 30 feet long. That is comparable to Chisholm Estates, directly on Chisholm Park Trail. We also requested several conditions be applied to this. One, they are impacting Chisholm Park Trail. They should have two, one entrance off of Chisholm Park Trail, one off of Narcousie Road. No entrances off of Albany Ave, which is basically a private road. The developer refused to change the site plans, so they took it to council for a vote. It was denied. This PUD they came back with is basically the same. The 75-foot lots with 62.5 foot. It is not compatible or consistent with the building out there in this area. Runnymede Oaks are all 1 acre lots that butt up to the back of this property. Our neighbor is on 5 acres. We're on 1 acre. The least amount in that area is the 85 feet wide at Chisholm Estates. This is not sufficient. We hope that you deny this. It will go on to council, and we are not worried about that since council has already denied basically the same PUD that this builder has brought back tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else who would like to speak? Okay. this time, we will close the public comment session. Any further discussion from the commission?
I would just like to address a few things. Again, John R. Adams, 316 Church Street, Kissimmee, Florida, planners for the project. One comment I want to address, Albany Avenue is not a private road, it's a public road. By the Land Development Code, we're forced to improve that road up to public standards. Currently, it's a dirt road. Using that road, if you pull up the site plan again, we don't have any direct connections until you get all the way down into our site, and that was at the request of some of the neighbors across the street to us to the east. That road, again, will be brought up to public standards. That's curb, gutter, sewage, sidewalks. In one of our previous special conditions, at the request of the neighbors, not putting a sidewalk on the east side of Albany Avenue, if St. Cloud City staff was willing to do that, and that was discussed previously. Another thing I wanted to bring up as far as compatibility, it's single-family homes. It's all single-family homes in the area. Lot size does not represent compatibility. It's all single-family homes within the surrounding area. I'm here to answer any other questions you may have.
Technically, we closed the public comment session.
It's
Are we allowed
at the pleasure of the chairman.
I'll entertain it and I'll reopen the public comment. Please state your name and address for the record.
Sure. It's Brian Bennett, and I'm at 1125 Albany Avenue in St. Cloud. You know, to the credit of the builder here, I do recognize that it is absolutely a public road. However, there's only 2 houses there that are serviced by that road. You know, and when they talk about coming in and bringing it up to building codes, I have great big oak trees that are out in the front yard that they will have to take out. It just would be a travesty to come in there and disturb the east side of that road. It would diminish my home values. The other thing too, you know, again, as we take a look at this, it really has to do with the lot sizes. This really is just, if you guys haven't been there, this neighborhood in there is just really a special place. It's very rural. We moved in there because it was rural, and to put very densely built homes into that neighborhood would just absolutely destroy that feel. It's right up next to Chisholm Park. Again, if we're you know, looking to really put a compact neighborhood in right up next to the park, it again would have impact on that park as well, and be a detriment to that neighborhood and that area. You know, we're not opposed to the development. We just want it to be compatible with the feel and the development that's already been in that neighborhood. So, you know, please take that into account as we move forward in the process. But you know, it definitely would have a huge impact on the residents that live in that neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please fill out a sheet to turn in for our clerk. Thank you, sir.
Are these townhouses, and what is the price point?
Single family.
They're all single family and they'll be market rate homes, whatever. I mean, the developer will sell them for as much as he can sell them for.
Well, townhouses are considered single-family homes, folks, so that's why I'm asking. Are
Single
they
family detached.
detached?
Yes.
It is concerning that the minimum, or I should say the maximum size lots here are half of what we normally would see, right? So 7,500 square feet versus 15,000.
Mr. Chairman, just for clarification, are you seeking any further public comment, or are you going to close that section for the?
Yeah, if we don't have any other, do we have any other public members that would like to comment? Please come forward. State your name and address for the record.
Hi, Betty Damke, 4776 Hidden Heights Trail, St. Cloud. I won't be redundant and repeat what Jackie just said and Brian, and I totally agree with them. How can we have a guarantee that there will be an entrance off of Narcoossee Road so that Chisholm Park Trail is not impacted completely? In other words, don't approve it unless there's a guarantee that there's an entrance. And I understand it's, I think, pending before the county now, working with transportation there. So how do we ensure that before it's approved?
So 2 questions. If there was an entrance on Narcoossee Road, you'd be okay with it just the way that it is?
Yes, as long as there's the entrance off of Narcoossee.
So 69 units in there is okay with you? As long as
I'm
there's
not
an
happy with the lot sizes, no.
Okay. Just wanted to be clear on that.
Yeah, no, we are going for the larger lot size.
Thank you.
And you said another question?
Not for you, but thank you.
Okay.
Is there, I mean, that's going to be built in, that roadway, right?
That is one of the conditions of approval, that they have to provide us a written approval from Osceola County Transport for that access.
Yeah, that's the condition.
Has there been a traffic study in that section of town? Sorry.
This is a PUD, so a traffic study is not required at the PUD stage. They can do a preliminary traffic study, which I believe they have, but it's not a requirement of the PUD.
Okay, thank you.
I have no more questions, but just, again, the statement is, I know that area very well, and it is kind of, again, personal opinion, disappointing for so many units in that area. So that's just my thought.
Anybody else would like to make a public comment at this time? Okay, we're closing the public comment session. Any further discussion from the commission?
No.
Okay, I'd like to call for a motion.
I would like to make a motion to recommend the denial of ordinance number 2024-12 based on the 16 findings within the Land Development Code.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion for denial passes 5-0. Okay, next ordinance number is 2024-01. Should we do these together? Okay, so 2024-01 and 2024-02. The first one is Downtown Site 1, Comprehensive Plan Amendment, DRC case CPA 23-00012. And the other one is ordinance number 2024-02, Zoning Map Amendment, a DRC case ZMA 23-00011. Okay, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Tammy Radke, Principal Planner with Community Development. And apparently I got punked as well because my presentation is not up there. And in response to the questions in the beginning of the meeting, we are presenting this item again because we had some issues advertising the first meeting. So we wanted to make sure that the advertisement was corrected and the public had an opportunity to comment on this item as well. For ordinances 24-01 and 24-02, we are recommending approval of the zoning map amendment and comprehensive map amendment for the properties surrounding City Hall. You can kind of see them in this picture, actually, back there. Right now, the zoning in these properties, the ones facing, oh, thank you so much. So we have several parcels. The two in the front facing Thames Street, which are in blue in that map, the current future land use is public institutional. And then for the properties in yellow, just behind City Hall, is medium density residential. So with ordinance 24-02, we're proposing to change the future land use to commercial, so it matches the other parcels in red, which are also in the downtown area. And for the zoning, right now, the two parcels in the front, which were in blue in the other picture, are already zoned as CBD1, which is Central Business District 1. And what we're requesting is, again, for continuity and to match the downtown fabric, to change the zoning from the back properties from R3 to Central Business District 1 as well. Staff recommends approval of both ordinances, 24-01 for the comprehensive plan amendment, and also ordinance 24-02 for the zoning map amendment. And staff is available for if you have any questions, and the applicant is here as well.
Thank you. Does the commission have any questions for the staff?
The applicant's the city, right?
And they're here.
And they're here.
Okay. So at this time, we will open up public comment. I have two submitted forms. The first one is Cheryl Race. Am I saying that correctly? It looks like a C. Okay. Please come forward and state your name and address for the record.
My name's Cheryl Race. I live at 816 Massachusetts Avenue, which is directly across the street and catty corner to the property in question. From what we understand, and I realize this is just a recommendation, you're just making a recommendation, but we understand that there's to be a parking garage, possibly with retail underneath. And so I'm concerned about the impact on my house, the negative economic impact on my house. So what I did was I investigated the city of Winter Garden, who had a similar situation in their downtown, and houses which were similar in age and also condition to ours. And would it be okay if I shared this information with you? I have hard copies.
If you have copies, you
Yeah.
can submit them. They're just going to be entered into the case file. You have to relinquish
Okay.
possession of them.
Of course. So
Give them to the
could I
clerk and we'll
distribute-
pass them along.
Okay, so I think there should be enough for each one of you. Okay, so the bottom line is when I looked at this similar situation, it looks like there's an average negative economic impact on the houses of about $59,000. What I did was I took the 4 houses that are on the same block as the parking garage, and I just Zillowed it and to see like what their values were. And I looked at houses that were within a couple blocks, and I did a comparison, and I came up with an average figure on how the houses had dropped in value, and they weren't as marketable as they had been. So I'm concerned with how we would be compensated for this negative economic impact should this zoning change and should this situation develop into the parking garage with retail. So do you have any questions for me about my information or? Okay, so that's the matter.
Okay, thank you very much. I also have Julie Fox. Would you like to come forward and speak? Please state your name and address for the record.
Julie Fox, 814 Massachusetts, next door to Cheryl. I'm also one of the parcels. I realize that the city owns the property where there's 3 houses, a community garden, and another house right next to City Hall, fine. But it takes some nerve, frankly, to take our houses where we all live and make them commercial. You know, stay on that side of the street. We really don't want a parking lot or a parking garage. I mean, fill out Pennsylvania, fill out the side streets, put a parking lot where that hotel thing is on 10th and Massachusetts. We already have people racing down our street. The parades are wonderful. We can watch from our porch, but I have to put out the trash for people to use because otherwise our lawn is trashed. My husband and I, we put in thousands, tens and thousands of dollars to upgrade our house, and now it's just judged commercial. So we're going to lose money on that. I just had fleas, dirt, and, fire ants. Now I have a great garden. I put up a fence. We improved our land. If you're going to not do a parking lot where it makes sense in the city, by the hotel, at least stay off our side of the street, because I do not want to have to try and sell a house in a commercial district, especially when the research that Cheryl has done shows that there is a negative impact. And that's all I've got to say.
Thank you. I just want to state that we have no knowledge of any kind of future actual use for this property. Would the city like to share anything with us based on some of the comments that we had about concerns?
Good evening, Antoinette Forbes, Economic Development Director. So yes, I can give you some context in reference to this property. So a portion of the property, if we go back, I think it was in the blue, is considered within the CRA. The other portion is outside of the CRA. However, this is part of the CRA's master plan, which was approved back when it was adopted in 2005 to create a proposed parking structure. It is also part of our 5-year strategic plan. It's also part of our comprehensive plan to have more parking in the downtown area. So this is one of the sites that is part of several sites we are pursuing. One example of that comprehensive parking plan is we are also leasing space from First United Methodist Church for their parking spaces that employees now use to walk to get to City Hall. We purchased the property at 900 Ohio Ave with the intention of extending that to create more parking spaces. We are looking at the lot behind the St. Cloud Hotel as well as future potential parking. So this is all part of our parking plan. We also, the CRA board had reviewed the proposal in order to create some sort of mixed-use structure. They had requested us to make sure that we do not eliminate any existing spaces that are already there. And they also asked us to look at additional uses, not just parking. So it has not been determined whether it will be retail or office space. That will be up to the developer. We are seeking a public-private partnership, which will give the opportunity for a developer to offer proposals of what would be the highest and best use, including parking as part of it. Then the CRA board as well as City Council will review those said proposals and make a determination of which one will be the best fit for that site. So, and then lastly, I want to say that the CRA has budgeted in the last 2 years its fund allocation balance money set aside in order to create an incentive for the proposed mixed-use parking structure. Also, our consultant for the CRA Redevelopment Management Associates, Adrian Esteban is here if you have any more technical questions.
Not a technical question, but so the city is interested in creating more parking. However, they took all of our little parking on the streets and put parallel parking in, which nobody in the world can do, and took away all of our little nice angled parking in front of all of our stores. So I do just want that to go on record, that it's sometimes quite frustrating that to create other things we maybe don't think logically. And in saying that, I just want to be clear, so the property that is behind that are residential that was purchased by the city, because they were for sale, they could have sold them to anybody, right? It wasn't eminent domain or anything.
No, it wasn't
Okay,
eminent domain.
so the city bought that, and there is a potential idea that there could be parking, garage or parking something in those areas that the citizens are concerned about.
We are proposing to include that as part of the bid proposal. But let me also repeat that developers can decide based on the lots that we are assembling, how they would like to structure it, what would go in part is that proposal, and then both the CRA board and the city council would make the decision of what is the best offer.
But ultimately, the decision of the city to apply for this comprehensive plan amendment is to give flexibility to be able to do something with these lots, since they're currently zoned as medium-density residential. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Do we have any other members of the public that would like to provide comment? Yes, if you haven't filled out a form, please do, and as you come forward, if you could state your name and address, please.
William Albee. I live at 820 Massachusetts, which is right across the street. Little blue house, small thing, but it's what we're paying for, a lot of money for. It's our first home, and I really don't want to see property value decrease, as it will impact us greatly, being a first home. I think we all know the American dream is to be a homeowner and to profit from that and not lose money ultimately. And that's where I feel like I would be. I've put a lot of money into the place already, making improvements. We've added over 200 feet of fence around the backyard, as well as a lot of pest control, improvements in air conditioning, landscaping, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't really want to lose my budget. So that in mind, I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
If you like, I can respond somewhat briefly in reference to the economic impact. So, if it's okay with you.
Yes,
Okay.
please do.
So, in reference to the economic impact, I can tell you about the CRA specifically. So, since the CRA's inception, the property value, which is the tax assessed value, has increased $89 million since its inception. So, I'm specifically speaking the blue area. It goes from about 9th Street. It's kind of weird the way the CRA set up. It's the downtown area, and then it's 192 on both sides, and there's a portion there of the hospital and such. But the overall CRA has increased $89 million since its inception. So the whole point of a CRA community redevelopment agency is to increase the taxable value of all properties, both commercial and residential, because that is how it is in fact funded, and then that money goes back into the area in order to continue to create redevelopment opportunities, so that it is a continuously replenishing cycle of revenue so that we can continue to invest in our community. But I wanted to at least give you that figure. So as of our 2022 numbers, the taxable value is $237.8 million, which is a 9% increase over the previous year.
Thank you. All right, I believe we had other public members that would like to comment. Please come forward and state your name and address. And fill out a form if you haven't already.
My name is Ed Hilfers. I live at 714 Massachusetts Avenue. My house was built in 1910. Massachusetts Avenue is higher than my house. The alley is higher than my house. And when it rains, the parking lot now floods Massachusetts Avenue all the way down. And I'm ankle deep in water. So if you build a parking structure, and if you drive down Massachusetts Avenue, 8th Avenue, between 8th and 7th, there's been a hole there with cones there for 7 years. And they keep sucking it out, putting stuff in it, and the sewer smell is bad there too. Walk there sometime. Now, are they going to do something with that? They've been saying, well, we're going to fix it. But it hasn't happened yet. I would suggest that before anything was done, as far as the parking spot, fix the roads first. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, sir. Yes, would you like to come up and speak? Please state your name and address for the record, and then fill out a form if you haven't already.
Thank you. My name is Scott Musso. I live at 814 Massachusetts Avenue. My wife, Julie. I heard, most of what I've heard about is the choices. And it's not our choice as homeowners. It's the choice of any business that would want to be there. And it's the city, is what I'm hearing, is profiting. The figures that I heard, I'm sure weren't for individual homes, that it was maybe overall property value of it. We've already seen through Cheryl's research that there could be a decrease, pretty significant for us as homeowners. And with respect to choice of businesses and everything like that, is there a limit to the type of business that could be there? Could we have a pawn shop there? A tattoo parlor? Would there be any restrictions on the type of businesses that could be there? Okay, that would be my question about, if the value to the business is great, but businesses don't necessarily care about the people across the street from them because they may not be the customers.
Understood. Thank you. Would you like to address, before I call anybody else up, would you like to address the question about the numbers that you provided, and whether or not it was that the entire city?
So the numbers I provided were simply for the CRA area in its
Just for the CRA
totality.
district.
I have not seen what has been provided, so I cannot comment on that. And then there was another comment, if you'd be so kind for me to address, about the quality of the streets. I can tell you that the CRA did contribute, I think it's about $2.1 million to the streetscape improvements both on New York and Pennsylvania Avenue. That is an example of we take money that's dedicated for the area and put it back into the area. In reference to the last gentleman's comments in reference to the intended uses or what is allowed, I think my colleague can answer that one, but hopefully I answered your other questions.
Yes, thank you.
You would have to come up here after that question.
Tammy Recky, Principal Planner. So this area is already identified in our comprehensive plan. The area east of Massachusetts Avenue all the way to Florida Avenue is identified for Central Business District. So with this proposal, we're just bringing that to be consistent with what was already identified by our comprehensive plan. As far as allowable uses, it will be the uses allowed will be what is allowed in the Central Business District zoning. We have a table in our website that has all the allowed, the permitted, and conditional uses for that area. And as far as street improvements, anything that is proposed in the site has to go through the site development plan process. And at that time of development is where the development we'll analyze any impacts to infrastructure, and before anything is developed in those parcels, any improvements that are required for the streets, they have to meet current code. So it would improve the conditions when anything is developed in that area. They would be required to make any necessary improvements.
Okay, thank you. Was there anybody else from the public that would like to come forward, comment? All right. Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
Kirsten Sturm, 337 Florida Avenue. Okay. When I got a garden plot for my family in 2023, I was told that the garden was going to be improved with picnic tables and more plots built. That hasn't happened. Instead, in the summer of 2023, the property wasn't maintained. The grass was allowed to grow taller than my toddler. There were rusty nails sticking out of the raised beds. These conditions made it unsafe to take my kids to the garden. I've spoken to other people that rented plots at the garden, and several said the reason they weren't renewing their plots was because the space wasn't being maintained. There's a lot of potential in the downtown community for a garden to benefit our town and our families. Learning opportunities for kids, raised beds that even the elderly or disabled can access. And the former Parks and Recreation manager, Gabriel, told me they were even growing food and donating it to a local food pantry. The property also has several beautiful mature mango and loquat trees, which would take years to grow again from seeds. I understand the city needs parking, but I don't think neglecting and paving over our green spaces is the way to do it. When making plans for our town, please consider the importance of these community green spaces. Don't pave paradise and put up a parking lot. And I loved your comment earlier where the people have come out and said when they put in the different parking downtown, hey, you're eliminating a lot of parking by doing this. You made a great point bringing that up. Yes, why wasn't this thought of before rather than taking out our community spaces? Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, please come forward. State your name and address for the record.
My name is Marilyn Hernandez, 1942 Big Cypress Drive, St. Cloud. I kind of commenting same on Kirsten. We were a part of a forest learning cooperative who used the community garden for our community, and all the kids met there. So it just had great potential. We kind of stopped using it as well for the same reasons she mentioned, because it kind of just stopped being maintained and it started not being as pleasant to take our kids there. But when it was being maintained, it was a very pleasant way for our community to meet. We did a lot of learning opportunities there. I know 4-H met there. So just in general, that community space, if we're talking about improving our community, it was already being used in a community way that we would like to continue to use that way too. We were actually planning to, the reason why this came up was because we were planning to continue to use that plot for a learning group to take place in that community garden when we saw the sign, and we were kind of like in shock about it and wanted to do something about it. So that's how that came forward.
Thank you. Do we have any other members from the public that would like to speak? Yes. Please come forward and state your name and address for the record.
Natalie Cruz, 1864 Napoli Drive, St. Cloud. Right. Yes. Okay, so the reason I'm here today is because this morning I started organizing a homeschooling group to attend the garden and have my daughters learn about gardening and put together a group where they can socialize and get together. And I was very disappointed to hear that that they're planning on putting a parking lot or something like that. I don't live anywhere close to the downtown, but I would say that I am a customer of the businesses there. I enjoy the St. Cloud area because, I live on Arcusi. I'm in the new developments, but I didn't move here for St. Cloud, but I've come to enjoy
what St. Cloud is and what it provides for my family. A lot of the things that we do are here in St. Cloud. And I just want to say I'm grateful for all the things that they have, especially the community garden has a special memory for me because it was the first time that I brought my daughters together to make new friends, and it has been a blessing for us. So I just want to add that we'd really like to keep the community garden.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? You can come up and clarify something that you said if you'd like.
Cheryl Race, again, 816 Massachusetts. There's already a parking lot across the street from us. There's an extant parking lot, I mean, for this building. So I just wanted to make sure that we understood that any impact, any economic impact that may have happened in the past has already happened, that I'm worried about future construction of a parking lot. So I just wanted to make that clear.
Thank you. Yes, please come forward and state your name and address for the record.
My name is Connie Kingston. I live at 705 Florida Avenue. Can we just, because I'm a little confused, one of the images that was put up there, one of the late images that was put up there, no, there was another one where it talked about Massachusetts, that one right there. Can we just clarify what the streets are? Because I know there's a lot of talk about the 800 block. So are we talking about now the 800 block from Massachusetts to Florida becoming commercial in addition to residential? Is that what that's all about?
The commission's going to take your comments, but any questions that you want to address can be responded to by staff at the appropriate time and follow up to the comment, okay? Commission's just taking your feedback. They're not here to direct or guide.
Okay, so how do I find out what the
Ask
answer?
your questions, and then
Okay.
staff can come up and respond.
Okay,
with their
that's
follow-up.
great.
So you just want to know the
That's
extent.
my question. I just want to know the extent of, are we talking about the 800 block, okay, that from Massachusetts to Florida Avenue is now going to be considered available for commercial?
Thank you. Staff, could you please?
And maybe staff, if you could expand on that just a little bit, because I think there is this opportunity zone thing that's out there too that a lot of residents don't either know about or understand. Maybe that helps to explain what's going on downtown.
Tammy Radke, Principal Planner. So just to clarify, in the comprehensive plan right now, we have some of the area identified. With this ordinance today, we're not changing the whole extension of that to Central Business District. Is just like it was stated, potential. For now, that is the area that is directly adjacent to Central Business District at the moment that we are seeking to change to make that compatible with the other surrounding parcels.
And this area that's outlined currently, that we're seeing in this image, is currently zoned as medium-density residential.
The zone is R3, multifamily residential. The future land use is medium-density residential. Medium density means that they could build 4 to 10 units per acre. So an apartment building could go in those parcels right now and build at that density.
So a batch of nice little apartments where people could walk downtown to the city probably wouldn't be such a bad idea. Just a few comments, and ma'am, I hope that answered your question. They're not saying right now anything about Massachusetts through. This is just this area that's highlighted here. Several things. The garden, is a super important thing if it was maintained. Why it wasn't maintained, hopefully as residents, and y'all noticed that, you've gotten in the face of the city, whoever there's power is to be over that, and hold them accountable, right? We pay taxes, so they should be held accountable for keeping it up, or at least going in there and making that a project that as a community we keep it up too. So I would strongly suggest that that's what makes our small town feel a small town feel. Even if you don't live right downtown, you still want the feeling of the downtown, why we have a parade, why we do all the things that we do in St. Cloud but we do have to manage this massive growth that's happening on the outside, and everybody wants a piece of that. So I feel for everybody, because I grew up here too. The other thing too, there are just some things that I don't understand. I love our city, but you talked about improvement on New York or Pennsylvania, et cetera. We put oak trees in. Oak trees are going to bring up all of that cement. We're going to have to redo the things. So I just really encourage our city to really think logically when we're doing things downtown. I mean, we spent a whole lot of money in the city on signs, replacing signs that are going to be here when the apocalypse comes because they're indestructible, and now all of a sudden they went from green to blue, and I don't understand why we would waste money on that when we should be fixing the garden. So I'm sorry, I'm a little bit on a soapbox right now and gone off on a tangent, but I'll stop there. It bothers me a little bit that we're doing a little too much to make it modern downtown when St. Cloud needs to be the small town feel. That's
Do we have any other members of the public that would like to comment?
Julie Fox, 814 again, Massachusetts. You talked about the small town feel. We've been here almost 10 years, and of course it's just exploded. But we wanted to live in downtown St. Cloud in a historic area. All of our houses on that street, on that block, are like 1910, 1914. To us, they are historic, and we take care of them quite well. I'm aware that people who like newer things, they kind of see the downtown state streets, frankly, as a little trashy, but it's not. We live there. Every house is different. It doesn't look like a cookie cutter. We don't have an HOA, thank God, to tell us what to do. So we put in thousands of dollars to maintain and upkeep the historical value of our neighborhood. And I think if you keep expanding north and east and west, I mean, go south, that's great, up to 192, but you're going to be harming the feel of an old neighborhood. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. I'm also a master gardener for the county. We teach classes. Kissimmee has opened a new big community garden, and we teach classes there. And I just feel sad that St. Cloud has just kind of given ours the axe. I mean, it's small, but there's trees there. It provides food. So I promise I'm done now.
But we should always not expect our city to do everything, folks. We also, as residents, need to jump in there and do it. So remember that, too. I do want to make a comment about the piece that you sent out. We do have some professional, real estate professionals up here. Real estate values don't go down, they go up. I will say that this could be, also be careful, one set of information is not the live all and beat all. Zillow does not purge its information. Their information on there is not changed ever. So I would say that the idea of the value of your homes going down, it all depends on how it goes. Those houses on the state streets were built for $5,000 to $17,000, most of them, and now they're going over $300,000, or maybe some around there. So I don't think y'all should worry too much about that.
Would you like to make an additional comment?
Yeah, sorry, Marilyn Hernandez again, 1942 Big Cypress. I got a little nervous, and I was going to share a picture of what our group used to do, so I don't know if it's possible to share that. Or to put it in there.
If it'll show up on the scanner over there.
So that was just like a picture of what we used to do at the garden. There was a lot of kids and stuff who met there, so I think that's where the sentimental value comes, and that it was being used in the right way at one point.
And it just because nobody was weeding it or whatever,
Yeah.
and everybody just stopped?
Became like, yeah, like the nails and stuff, some things that, as with the kids, since we're moms and we have kids, we're not always able to do some of that more tedious stuff, but we were maintaining it as the garden and meeting there, and we intended to keep using it, and we're actually going to restart that program again. So that's just
Thank you
wanted
for
to share
sharing.
the image. Thank you.
This picture she shared is from a couple of years ago. This one is from, really enjoys the garden. I walked her over there. She saw the signs. I explained to her what it meant, explained to her about the parking lot, and she started sobbing. As you see in these pictures, the gardens themselves, the plants in this picture at this time, and this is 2023, this spring, so just last year, those were being maintained. At this time, it was still being mowed. If you notice, the wood on the structure is not that super maintained, but within a few months of this, they pretty much stopped mowing. And frankly, I wonder if the city knew from the beginning that they were planning to get rid of this and put in a parking lot. And then if they knew they were going to do that, why bother maintaining it? Because if you can say, oh, it's people aren't using it, then why not just get rid of it? Because, oh, people aren't using it. Well, people aren't using it because it's not safe for their kids. That's why. So, anyway.
All right, thank you. Is anybody else that has not commented like to say anything? Okay. At this time, we're going to close the public comment session and allow for commission discussion or any further questions. My comment on this is I sympathize with everybody that has spoken about this property and the current condition of it, and what it's been used for in the past, and just say that I don't think there's any ill intent by the city to take that away per se. The way I see this is that in order to provide the flexibility that the city needs to do things here that would benefit the entire city, they can't really do much with the zoning the way it is now, unless they were to decide to go into the building business of apartments or something like that. And I definitely agree that I don't want to see a parking lot here, and I encourage everyone to make sure that you stay informed of this and come to the CRA meetings, come to the city council meetings, voice your opinions, share your stories. I think they're all very meaningful. However, with all that being said, I believe that the city has the best intentions for this site, regardless of the fact that it will impact some of the existing homes that are there. But like I said, I don't want to see, I agree, I don't want to see parking lots either. I would love to see a green space adjacent to City Hall that leads into, maybe we do have a parking garage, but maybe it's on Massachusetts and 10th or something like that.
So it's not a given that it'll be a parking lot there just yet, then? Correct.
No, they're just, all we're voting on is or to make it.
Land use and zoning.
Land use, rather.
Right.
Land use and zoning are the two
Right, so
matters.
this allows the city the flexibility to do something with this property that they already own, and currently they can't really do much with it that would help the overall residents. And that's my opinion. Do you guys want to add anything or share anything?
My opinion is go south on commercial.
My opinion is go to the hotel across the street from the women's club. There's a lot of land out here on the city. And build them there and charge them a fee to go in or a pass or whatever, and get the person who bought the hotel, get involved with our parking lot.
And I'm trying to see this from the perspective of the city as well, as if the city was a person and they already own this property, telling them to go south or
Well, the
move
city is
somewhere
us.
else would force.
Yeah,
The
I'm
city is us.
I live
It
in
is
the
us,
city.
but it's a group of people that collectively, they're working towards a goal, or they're working towards several goals at one time with their comprehensive master plan and their, as well as their conceptual master plan.
Good point.
And I, for one, would like to, if we do see this in front of City Council and they approve it, I would also like to be involved with everyone else in curating what this could be for the public. Because I think ultimately that's what's important, is how will it benefit everybody collectively.
This will come before council on the 8th of February as well? Is it scheduled for the 8th of February? It is, okay.
But if they do decide that it is a changing and it's commercial, it will never be residential.
No.
Right?
Correct.
Okay. That's.
But it won't
Well, unless they
necessarily be a
request,
parking lot
unless they
either.
request to have
Yeah.
residential.
Hi, Melissa Dunklin, Director of Community Development. That is not what that means. So in the CBD district, you can still do multifamily. What I believe Intranet has been tasked to do is to get the right land use and the right zoning on this property so that they can put out a request for proposals from different developers, and then they'll come to the city and they will, and the CRA, and say, hey, I would like to build XYZ, and then the city has the opportunity to say, great, no thank you, or okay, good start, let's make some adjustments, or yes, this works very well for our downtown. I will remind you all that this is part of the historic district, and so we will be looking at it for any requirements that are in the historic district. And I believe one of the limitations that this may have will be height requirements, and the different uses will have to be compatible with the area, just like any other development. The city does not get a free-for-all, do whatever we want. We still have to be within the confines of our code.
So is the proposal potentially to master plan the entire site?
Correct, I believe. I'm not on that project, so I'll let Antrina answer that.
So the proposal is for the assembly of lots to come back with some form of a mixed-use development that includes parking.
Okay, so
So
very,
whatever
very
that-
vague and general.
Correct. So that would be up to the developer to do their appropriate due diligence to determine what they think would go there, whether it be multifamily or office or retail, whatever they think would make, obviously, them the best and highest and best use. But for us, it also needs to include additional parking spaces as well, while conforming to our code.
Do a vegetarian restaurant.
Whatever,
A vegetarian restaurant.
whatever it is that we,
Girl down.
whatever it is that is decided, I'd like to go on record and ask staff if they could check into the garden for our residents to see what is the plan, what is going on right now today, because they're not going to be building anything or doing anything tomorrow or next month on it, that we can actually just look into that, if we could, please.
All right, thank you. Do we have any other discussion or questions for city
So the
staff?
public comment's been closed, sir.
No? Okay, well, it's time to call for a motion. Then I'll jump in at once.
I'd like to make a motion to deny ordinance number 2024-1, based on the 16 findings of the Land Development Code.
I'll second it.
All right, I have a motion to deny with a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
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 I have 3-2
Wait, we're denying it.
Motion fails 3-2.
for that motion.
So one of you yesers should have made a motion to yes.
Probably begs for a follow-up motion.
Yes, I'd like to know if anybody would like to make a follow-up motion. To approve,
Well,
or either motion.
you just need another motion. There was one motion to deny that failed, 2-3.
You all must want it if you voted against what my motion was, so
I
somebody
don't
make a
think
motion.
anybody wants it.
We don't want it. I don't want it.
All right.
Well, I mean, I guess in terms of our conversation, which is, I guess I'm for increasing the footprint of historical downtown. The concept of the parking garage isn't appealing at all, but it sounds like that's not a given.
We're only
yet.
voting on the use of the land and
Remember
zoning.
that, not to interrupt, but this is land use, this is zoning. It's right in front, it's a big issue.
Agreed. So that's why I said
Understood.
nay to rejecting it, is because I'm okay with rezoning it. And the discussions, I agree with the discussions of what some of the thought of what would go there, but that's why I didn't, I guess, vote for it. But I think it's important that we, as a city, accept kicking it out, because I'm okay rezoning it, actually.
Fact is, it's all based on the 16 findings. So I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval.
I second it.
Approval of ordinance number 202401,
Based on the 16.
based on the 16 findings with the Land Development Code.
I second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor of approval? Aye.
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 You didn't ask for opposed. No.
Okay, so
Okay.
that motion
Motion
passes
passes
4-1.
4-1,
Motion
yeah.
to approve passes 4-1.
Okay, so ordinance number 2024-02. This is the zoning map amendment. DRCK CMA 23-00011. I'd like to call for a motion to,
I'll make a motion to recommend approval of ordinance number 202402, based on the 16 findings within the Land Development Code.
I second.
okay, have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Okay,
Passes 4-1.
passes 4-1.
Thank you, Ms. Reed.
That is our last case for this evening. Our next Planning Commission meeting is February 20th, 2024 at 6 p.m. Do we have any other business, or would someone like to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second it, third,
All right.
fourth.
Meeting adjourned.
We're adjourned.